Yeah, you kick it off.
All right. 3, 2, 1, and we're back. After a few months off, we're back here on the Spot Podcast. This is episode number 15 with our special guest, Pat Mancuso.
Thank you guys for having me.
And you might recognize Pat at TF's. Works there bartending most weekends. That's why I was saying I was surprised he can get the night off tonight. But he already said he made, Red, shout out to Red McDonald, his bitch for the night. So there you go.
Shout out to Red.
So what's up, man?
Not much, man. Just enjoying the summer as much as possible. Watching some sports on TV. I love what's happening already. As far as baseball, is concerned, it's fun to watch meaningful baseball at such an early time. It usually doesn't even matter until about late July.
But it's interesting to see like how good some of the people and some of the teams are doing. It's just like, if they keep this up all year, like we're talking record-breaking years.
Yeah, Mike Trout's.
Dude, he's the best. He's the beast. But yeah, man, thanks for coming on. It was really cool to like talk to somebody that I didn't even know would be into this kind of thing, and you were like, dude, I want to do it. I think what you guys are doing is cool. Let's do it. And we were like, absolutely, because everybody knows who you are. So it's going to be good for us. So.
Yeah. I love ball. Like we were talking about earlier, podcasting to me is, once I found Joe Rogan, it was just over.
Yeah, that's where I fell in love with it too. And it kind of we've mentioned him a few times on our podcast, but he really is like an inspiration of ours.
He really introduced it to me, and then my last semester of school, I like got into it, and then when I came back, we were both into it. So
I'm hooked.
So
onto
he
that.
was the
Have
one
you,
too.
Ever seen The Fighter and the Kid? That podcast. It's
Brandon
Schaub.
Schaub.
Yeah, that's a really good one too.
That's pretty good too. Yeah, he's always on Joe Rogan.
Eddie's always on.
Yeah,
Brian Callen's always on.
Brian Callen is got some of the craziest stories I've ever heard in my entire life. The fact that he's like still walking around normal, to me is absurd. I heard a story. That was just like a pedophile story. And, like, I couldn't fathom being in that situation. He's a beast. He's very good at jiu-jitsu as well.
It's very interesting. I didn't know that about him, about jiu-jitsu.
He's either a blue or purple belt, yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting how all those guys, like, they all do their own thing, but they're all friends. But they all just, I mean, nobody has a life, but dude, they kind of have the life. Like, dude, they fuck around in California.
Right.
Like, they all run their own podcasts. They all do their own thing, like run jiu-jitsu gyms or commentate for the UFC.
In Brennan's case was if, he used to be a fighter, heavyweight.
So it's like, and they're just all boys just hanging out at the comedy store.
Like Joey Diaz, like when he opens up his podcast, the first thing he always talks about is the gis. Pulling on.
So last April, so 2017, me and my buddy Joe Muyo, we went and saw Rogan live when UFC went to Buffalo, and Hinchcliffe and Joey Diaz opened up for him.
That's crazy.
Dude, they were
now,
funny
do you
as
remember,
fuck.
though, here's a trivia question. Do you remember what the main event of that fight was, the one in Buffalo?
DC Anthony Johnson, too.
It was Rumble Johnson, DC.
Yeah, that was...
And it what ended the same way the first one did. DC took his back and just pounded him.
I don't remember how it ended.
He beat him. He stopped him in the third round.
DC obviously beat him.
Bones was there, too.
He was there. He was in the crowd.
Yeah. He was in the crowd, and then he went to a bar after. I think he went to Bottoms Up, and
that's funny.
They paid him to do an appearance, and he I think was signing. But yeah, because he's from the Rochester area, John.
Right.
Maybe the greatest. Fighting it. Yeah, maybe the greatest MMA fighter ever is.
Demetrius Johnson would obviously beat the shit out of John Jones.
125-pound guy being a 205er. Makes sense.
Have you guys ever heard of Boss Rutan?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Boss Rutan.
That guy is a beast.
Yeah, he's a tank, too.
Gotta be probably 50s.
Yeah, he's older 50s? Now, yeah.
And he just had neck surgery, so he can't lift weights. So he has these webbed gloves that are weighted as if for your ankles for running, but he gets in the water with them. Yeah. And he does all these water workouts, and
that's what GSP does.
Yeah, I think he said him and his neck, it was similar to another fighter, not Pat Cummings. What the hell's the guy's name? But it's another old school fighter. He had so many problems with bones or whatever that in his neck they fused by itself. Yeah. So his shoulder, if you actually look at his arm, it's shorter than the other one.
You could see one. You could see one side of his trap, and you can't see the other.
Yeah.
At all.
Who was saying that the other day? I think I heard that the other day.
There was another fighter that was on Rogan that had the same problem.
It wasn't Tim Kennedy, was it?
No. Tim Kennedy. It's the guy who fought even before his time. It was one of like the very first like pioneers of like MMA.
Man,
him and Royce Gracie. You ever see Royce Gracie?
Oh yeah, Royce. Yeah, he's my inspiration for. Well, I do jiu-jitsu now.
I didn't know
practice
that.
at a Gracie gym in Victor.
That's cool.
Yeah, so he's one of the inspirations behind that.
I watched some of his videos. Like I came across him because of Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how intense he was, and that's how actually Joe Rogan got into jiu-jitsu too, or MMA.
Yeah.
He was watching him. And I went through some of his highlights, dude. He was choking people out, and they were tapping for a good 10 seconds, and he was just not letting
The Gracie videos, dude, are nuts. Like the Gracie challenge videos.
That can't.
Oh, I know.
That can't happen anymore. Like you can't just choke someone out and have him tap, and you
don't give up,
out of
right?
Spite. Like he doesn't care.
You're right. He's just like,
what are you gonna do?
Well, I heard.
There's nothing you can do. You just hope to God he lets go, because at that point you're screwed.
Right.
Like when he's got you, it's over. You're at his mercy now.
Wasn't it you telling me like during the Gracie challenge fights, like the first time if somebody wanted to challenge him, the father would be like, "All right, beat him." But if they wanted to fight again, then the father was like, "All right, open up on him."
Yeah. So yeah, what he would do is whenever you would challenge them, right? They would not go easy, but they would. Depending on the skill level too. Like he always said, the Gracie challenge. If a guy didn't really have that high level of skills, he wouldn't even throw like one of his sons onto him, which is like, this is the grandfather who's like, the quote unquote creator. Yeah, in Brazil, and he would have one of his sons go out there and he wouldn't have his son go out there and fight like someone who was like, you could just tell they didn't have the skills. They would have somebody else, like one of his other black belts, go murk him. But if it was somebody who had like a decent level of talent, you have his son go on him. One of the two, Hoist, who's like not even the best one in their own family, I guess. But anyway, he would go and fight him, and they beat him. But if they challenged him again, like after they just tapped him, be like, "All right, don't go easy on this guy now." And he would just open up and tee off on the guy.
We're gonna teach you a lesson.
Yeah, it's just like don't challenge me twice. Like, I already beat you once. Don't challenge me again.
I'll entertain you the first time. The second time, I really got.
Wow, that's brutal.
Well, and the deal was like they would say if you can beat one of the like Gracies at the time, you would get like $100,000. They didn't have $100,000 to give somebody who lost.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, so it was kind of like one of those like we're just really banking on we're never gonna lose because we don't have the money to give that up.
They never did. I didn't know that about the money part.
No,
that's crazy.
That was like one of the parts of the challenges.
Like when the son goes in for the challenge, he like brings him aside before the match and he lets him know, "Is like, we don't have this money, bro. If you lose, we're out of here. We're gone.
This is Brazil. We will get killed by some like mobsters.
You can too. Like that's crazy. Like Brazil, I will.
There's a different world.
I will never go to Brazil.
Like the more I hear about,
I'm afraid to go to Brazil.
The more I hear about stories about Mexico, I would only fly to Cancun. Like I would never drive over the border ever. And like one of my friends, that I know through work, she actually is on disability right now, and she's older than me, but she's living out in Arizona right now, like with her boyfriend because he's from out there. She's like, yeah, we go down there like once a month. We'll drive over the border. I'm like, yo, what is wrong with you? Like, dude, the cartel literally will pull you over and mess your shit up. That's the saddest.
Their government doesn't run it there. The cartel runs things there.
That's a big thing about this war on drugs too, dude. It's like we've just made the Mexican cartel like so much money, dude.
Yeah,
$50 billion.
But
and what was HSBC Bank? I was just watching a documentary on Netflix. It's called Dirty Money, and it's brilliant. Like the first episode drew me in. It was about the Volkswagen scandal, which I didn't know anything about, and then there were some other ones that were okay. But the HSBC one was dope. So the HSBC was like smuggling billions and billions of dollars for the Mexican drug cartels.
Wow.
Like, and then they got caught, and then they did it again.
That must have been. I'm pretty sure HSBC stands for like Hong Kong, Shanghai, Bangkok, and China or something.
It's Hong Kong. It's Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation.
Yeah. So the Wheelahands' mom used to be like the vice president at HSBC in Buffalo or something.
Oh wow.
Okay. Like I knew she was high up.
She
somewhere,
was really high up there. I don't know if it was vice president, but she was, like I said, pretty high up. And I could only imagine like the Mexican cartel and the Asian mafia were definitely like together on that.
Absolutely.
Why wouldn't they be? They're both benefiting.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and especially when you're coming from like countries where you don't really know how much government
and
the government controls things.
They didn't even get like that punished. Like they had to pay like a $1.5 billion fee, which was like literally it was like 7% of like what I mean. Like it
considering
wasn't,
what
like,
they were bringing in, that was
and nobody went to
them.
jail. Like nobody got fired. Nothing. Like the Volkswagen scandal. Like mad people got fired. People went to prison.
Right.
So what happened with that one was. Like, so I guess diesel compared to normal gasoline is like more efficient, but it's dirtier. So like in Europe after World War II, like I don't know, Volkswagen kind of became like a big thing in Germany, especially.
Yeah.
So eventually they were able to build up to like a world company, and they're trying to figure out like how to make like a clean diesel engine, like that emits like non-toxic shit into the atmosphere.
Right.
Because it was like diesel was like 10 or 15 times more pollutant than like regular gas. So what they did was they like ended up coming up with this car in like 2010, I think. It was called like the Jetta something, and it was able to like emit like 40 times less than like a normal diesel engine would. And like mad cars were bought, and everybody was all about it. It came out that they built a cheater on every car to pass the test, but as soon as the test was over, like they would like take it off.
Wow.
And dude, they were emitting up to 80 times more than they were saying, and so they had to buy back every car, and they had to pay like $10 billion in fines. Like people went to prison. I didn't even know about it. So like 2 weeks ago.
Well, yeah, I mean, it makes sense though. They're committing fraud.
And the most recent guy got sentenced like in August of last year.
Yeah.
But like you don't hear anything about it.
Right, that's some like Pimp My Ride type shit. You ever hear that about what they used to do to like your car? Like some people, like you know how they like turn it around in one episode that's like 30 minutes.
Right.
Some people would have like wouldn't have their car for like a month or two. I think one person I read didn't have it for like 6 months. But what they do is they put all that crazy shit in your car, and then before you leave, they take it out, and they're like, "All right, see you later. We've done our part."
Wow.
Like, they've done it all for the camera. See you later. Not all of it was taken out, but like some of the stuff like didn't stay at all. Like so they were just being duped. They got their car taken from them for like 3 months, ran through for a show, and then everything was taken out.
Right.
And then given back. Like this guy's got like a red velvet interior, with like a Chrysler.
Yeah, right.
LeBaron
When you had the
top.
when you had the TVs and the stereo system in the car, it looks sweet. You take that out, it's like, no, I just got a red velvet interior.
Right.
That was gone for 6 months.
That guy back then looked super cool. That guy today looks like a huge asshole driving around with that.
Yeah.
You know, the funniest thing about that show to me was always still that Exhibit was like the host. Just that dude, Cora, like, what the hell? It's like, I didn't even really like his music. This guy's hilarious. He's like, that's all he was on there.
I think
he is an original.
I think he's on tour right now.
Really? I didn't even know he's still around.
Eminem, I think. Yeah, him and Eminem right now are on tour. Like they're going all around, and I was like, there's.
See, I would see Eminem if he ever came. If he ever came around here, oh yeah,
dude, absolutely.
He's a legend. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I agree.
There's a funny tweet. You know, I'm not even gonna say it because
now you got to. You got to. Now,
it's kind of a long. No, it's. All right, so I'm not saying this to be racist at all, but in 2009 or whatever year Eminem came out with Rap God, there was like a tweet that was like, Obama's the president and Eminem's the best rapper. Like, a black man's the president and the white man's the best rapper.
Right.
Like,
because what kind of crazy world do we live in where it's like it's reversed, right?
That's so hilarious to me. Like people think like that.
Yeah, I know. It is funny. But
like
the whole
Roseanne thing, dude.
Oh
that just she was scheduled to be on Rogan's podcast and then she bailed out.
Yeah,
she was like.
Did you see that clip that he posted about it?
Yes.
About her, and like they had like a conversation, like a phone. Yes. He like talked to her over the phone about it, and she was like, "I took a bunch of Xanax and got super weirded out."
It wasn't Xanax. It was.
It was a drug though, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
not
she said
Valium.
She was drinking. I thought it was Valium. They said not Valium.
Damn it.
Percocet.
No,
I know he was also drinking too, right? Didn't she say she was drinking?
Yeah, it was on like the Memorial Day holiday. She was mixing it. And whatever she was using,
Ambien.
Blacked out, and then all of a sudden just started tweeting.
Yeah,
like she must have had. And the crazy thing about Ambien is I think Joe Rogan was telling me how he had a friend who did Ambien, and he would make like a full breakfast at 4 a.m, sleepwalking.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna bring that up.
Put the dishes in there, go to sleep.
Wake up the next morning and be like, "Yo, who the fuck did this?" And his wife was like, "You did." He's like, "No, I didn't. What are you talking about?"
Right.
There was another one too that was really funny. Yeah. That was the Kevin Smith one, right?
Yeah.
I didn't see that one.
I didn't listen to that whole one. That just came out.
I just finished listening up to the like the fighter companions that they do.
Well, I went back and I did
GSP because I wanted to see that one.
They did a fight companion with GSP.
No, they invited him to go onto the fight companion, but it was just Rogan and GSP.
Did you ever see the video of Rogan?
Said he wants to go on one of his fight companions one though. I'm like, dude, that would be
no, I listened to the GSP one. I went back and listened to the Dennis McKenna one, who's Terrence McKenna's brother.
Yeah.
I'm almost done with like the new one, the geologist. Did you see his post yesterday about how he said he like had this guy on, and it was one of his best ones to date.
Really?
So he did that, and he took a picture with the guy. So I was like, yo, I gotta listen to this.
Yeah.
And his name's like Robert Scotch or Schoch. That's his last name. We'll have to look up after. And he's like this geologist, and he's saying that the Sphinx in Egypt was built in like 9,000 BC. Like he's saying it's like way older. And like Joe Rogan's always like, he was just talking him up like, yo, I've been a huge fan of your work, yada yada yada. This dude's older, but it was super interesting what this guy had to say. He was saying some interesting stuff because he was saying like most people because he got a lot of kickback from his theories from like people that study Egyptologists. But he was saying that like most of those people study like cultural shit, like art or like history. Right. He's like looking at it as a geologist because that's what his degree is in, geology and anthropology. So he's like looking at it and being like, no, those stones are way fucked. Right. He said within 30 to 120 seconds, so within 2 minutes, he knew that it was way older than 2500 BC.
Right, because he's piecing things together. Or like an artist.
And then they did.
No, that's something else. And
right.
He's like, no, motherfucker. That's like, I'm doing math in my head. That's from 900 BC.
Like he said, like the erosion patterns were like different. And
only something like somebody with that type of eye would really be able to
exactly. And they brought in like a seismic machine like to do seismic waves,
right?
And there's like this big chamber under like the paw, but all the Egyptologists are like, nope, and like he can't drill in there because like those people have ties to the government. So like, but he's like, dude, we did it, like. And they came out with more evidence too lately, so I don't know. It was really interesting. I'd do an awful job of paraphrasing it because it was super scientific.
That those were created.
What he's saying is, listen, like you have this idea that since 4000 BC, 5000 BC, like human civilization's been like a staircase or like a straight line, but like really, like there may have been advanced civilizations like 10,000 years ago. Like think about it, we still don't know how they built the pyramids, and that was 5,000 years ago. Like we don't know how they did the Sphinx. Like we don't know how they did some of these things. We can't do it today. Yeah, so what he was saying is like that specific example might show to a culture that was earlier.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I don't know. It was interesting.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's someone that's like 65, has his PhD, like he's been doing this for 30 years.
Right,
like,
a dude who knows his shit.
So yeah.
Take this as you will, but I saw a tweet that was on like What the Fuck Facts, and it showed a picture of old almost like a town, probably like as big as this. Like the picture just showed like a little irrigation system, and they were telling the people like in the tweet, like they had a little article about it, and it was like this was before the pyramids. Like we don't know how this works. So I would probably believe that.
Yeah,
right.
And it was different like during the Ice Age, like because that was when the last Ice Age happened, and he was saying that like it's like it was like more rainforest then instead of like desert, which it was like the savannah that long ago. Like you know what I mean. And then I can't remember. There was another really interesting piece that he was talking about. But yeah, check it out because it was cool. I don't know, just to hear different theories like that. And I listened to the Michael Pollan one, who's like this agriculturist who did study on psychedelics. But it was interesting. He's just been doing a lot of research on it.
Probably love that one.
Dude, he was so he had a boner the whole time. It was super funny.
Some of those podcasts though are tough to like finish.
I don't listen to all of them.
It's tough. Like I'll listen to the Joey Diaz one, the Church of What's Happening Now. Shout out to Joey Diaz.
Yeah,
cocksucker. And I'll drive from Tonawanda, where my girlfriend lives in Batavia, for work. I commute, and I'll listen to like 45 minutes there, 45 minutes back, and maybe a day and a half. I'll listen to one of them.
Right.
What I would love to do is just start and finish every single one of them. But like once again, he's got like 588 episodes.
Dude.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to like ever catch up?
He's got over 1,000, dude.
Right. Does he really?
Dude, he's
Rogan
got 1,100
or
something.
Joey Diaz?
Joey Diaz.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Joey
Diaz,
Diaz.
I think is around the
Rogan's
got like
I thought you were
over
talking about
1,100
Rogan. I'm sorry.
episodes.
My bad.
That doesn't include Fight Companions and other like unofficial stuff they've done. It's like, oh my god, he's got MMA ones now. It's like,
even if you put like 1 hour to that, it's 588 hours. Like, and some of them go forever. Like he had Ari Shaffir on for 2 hours, and they took me 2 complete days of driving to work to listen to it.
Yeah,
110% well worth every.
Very rarely do I be able to sit down in like one setting and just listen to it all. To me now, I do it when I commute up to Victor to go to jiu-jitsu. It makes it easier. Or when I was interning and when I'll start again full time in the fall, like because I'll work in an office 9 to 5, so it's like there and they let you just pop your headphones in, do what you got to do. So it's like that. At least I can like kind of listen to it. But yeah, it's so hard to just in one sitting to listen. Because, Rogan's got ones that go like 3 hours sometimes. It's just like,
it takes me days to finish those.
Yeah, those take forever.
It's nice because I work in Buffalo, Rochester. Sometimes I work around here, but like when I'm driving, I just plug it in. Like, dude, I can't even listen to music anymore. Like, because I'm I hate the radio. The radio sucks.
Yeah, radio sucks.
I haven't listened to the actual radio and forever. I play music out of my phone.
Me too.
The only one I'll listen to is if I'm up that early in the morning and listen to
the break room.
Break room.
Dude, the break room's funny as fuck.
I've never heard of that one.
96.5.
Oh, it's like the actual radio station.
Yeah, Tommy Muley and what is it? Duffy and Tommy Muley. Didn't somebody say that Tommy Muley went to TF's once?
I'm sure he did.
Who said that?
I'm sure he did.
One of the guys that works there. It was. You always talk to him. I can't remember.
Frank?
Yeah, that might have been it. Frank, yeah.
Frank.
Not
Don't
Frank,
listen to anything Frank says.
No, let's see how true that really is. But yeah, I was going to say.
Shout out to Frank, motherfucker.
Frank, I'll tell you.
It was a long time ago,
Yeah,
though.
I'll tell you something about Frank. He's been working for TF Browns since I was probably around 8 years old. Dude is like the best chef I've ever.
Really?
From breakfast to dessert, he covers it all. Want lunch? Want a little snack? You want like an actual like stuffed chicken breast?
He's got you.
He's unbelievable, and he is amazing talent. And
that's awesome.
Frank cracks me up,
He's
man.
got it. And the crazy thing is, if you work for a company and you work with the public for so long like Frank has, dude, the amount of stories, so I don't doubt if he like came through or not, but like the amount of stories that you can collect is just outrageous.
I just remember him saying
Frank's
that to
nice
us
guy.
at one time at TF's. He's like, yeah, no, or you were telling me, he's like, yeah, he said that Tommy Lay's been here before. Or like,
I don't remember that.
I don't remember. Maybe it wasn't he was telling me. Maybe he just flat out told me.
Yeah, I think maybe he said that like when we were there or something.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
Frank cracks me up, man.
He is the best.
He cracks me up. He grew up with my Uncle Joe, so he likes to pick on me a lot.
Oh, that's I swear to God, Frank is cousins with everybody in Batavia.
Yeah.
Do you know the waitress Bobby
Joe? Yeah.
Yeah, they're cousins too.
Yep.
And he's cousins with like anybody who walks through the door. I feel like it's out of control, man.
So one thing I wanted to talk about, I want to get your guys' opinions, because I know you definitely know more about this than I do, and I'm pretty sure you do, because I don't know much jack shit. Did you see LeBron's charge last night? Was it a charge? Was it not a charge?
Okay, I'll give my brief opinion, and you can kind of give more in-depth opinion. I'll let you sit on that.
Sure.
I'll let it breathe. You like let a beat breathe.
Yeah, just let that breathe.
Let
a
it
little.
breathe for a second.
Let that settle in.
Yeah.
Marinate right here.
For me, when you have to go to you make a call. You make a call, and that's what it is, in my opinion. At this point in the game, you have the best of the best. You should have the best of the best refs. You can't make a call to me and go to the video and overturn it, which I'm pretty sure that's what happened, right?
They did overturn it, yeah.
So to me, I mean, you got to kind of go with your gut, and to me, it was a block or.
They ruled it on the floor a charge, and then they
Right.
changed it to a block. Yeah.
Right.
So
it definitely was a charge, in my opinion. I mean, it was.
You think he got screwed then?
I think they made a tough decision. I mean, they're in front of Golden State, and it was a really tight game. Yeah, and even LeBron after the game said this is the best we've played all playoff season.
Yeah, no, they did. They definitely played hard, and it was a very crazy game. Mm-hmm. So for me, live, when I first saw it as it was happening, I thought it was a charge. Just seeing it bang, bang, it looked like he got over there quick enough and took it. After seeing the replay, and I guess the only reason why they're even allowed to like overturn it and review it is because they were trying to see, I guess according to the NBA's like rule. This very rarely happens, but it has happened before. Never in the finals, but I guess like since the new rule was made in like 2009, you can review that play in particular because they want to see if LeBron's foot was in that restricted circle, that little line that's under there. If his foot's on, they can review it because they want to see if it's on that. No matter what, doesn't matter if he got killed under there, it's a block. But if he's outside of that, then you have a little bit more subjectivity to it. So that's why they were able to review it and potentially overturn it. I didn't think at first glance that there was enough to overturn the call already made, which was a charge. With that said, I did ask my dad, who's been refereeing for Section 5 for over 30 years now, basketball. I said, what did you think? Was that a block or a charge? He goes, I think they got it right when they overturned it. He said, I thought that was a block. Personally, I could see why it could have been a charge because you don't necessarily need to be. That's like a myth. You don't need to have your feet planted for it to be a charge. You just need a good position, defensive position. He was faced up, squared up to him. He kind of leaned a little bit, which I guess could be why it was turned to a block. But I don't know. I thought it was a charge.
So it's a very subjective call.
Oh,
you're telling me a charge versus a block is a subjective call?
The quote unquote expert they have was a former like NBA referee who's like really like respected and liked. And he thought that it should have stayed a charge. He said that there, and then they overturned it.
It's almost
so
like,
even they couldn't agree, and those are good referees.
It's almost like they found a loophole to overturn a judgment call, like the NFL. Like how you make a pass interference call.
It's
almost like they were looking at something else and were like, hold on a second, like that's
my entire life.
Something else.
My entire life, I always thought your feet had to be planted.
Not necessarily. You just
in
need
the NBA or in high school.
Either.
It's the same way. The only thing different between the NBA and high school would be that restricted area. There is none in high school, so you could still be in theory lower.
And I would say high school is less like less bang bang like the NBA is.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you'd be like almost you're teaching kids fundamentals, so you want like you're almost gonna preach like if the kid's not standing still like a statue, it's gonna be a block. But in the NBA, man. Those plays happen.
You got to realize
slide up and you got to make a quick move like
that's
this.
like two quick guys, like Durant and LeBron that were going at each other. That's like okay, that's a dude who's like 7 foot, leaning in, going fast with LeBron, who's 6'8", sliding. That's so fast and hard to see.
The last few minutes.
But live, I thought it was a charge.
I watched the whole game, which I usually don't do. I usually just flip on and off. But I watched the whole game, dude. I thought that at the end, it kind of sucks he didn't make the free throw. Granted, he made the one to tie it. And then, dude, he dribbles the ball out. And it was so funny because as soon as the whistle blew, all 4 of the other Cavs just look at him and go, what the fuck are you doing, dude?
Oh, LeBron
like, not
was
one
just
of them. Like, all of them literally put their hands up. Like, not like this. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, and it just creates a great meme now for to rip on JR.
Apparently, he did it with the Knicks, too. Tony Ray shared something on Facebook. Yeah. Apparently, he did it with the Knicks, dude.
Yeah.
It's sad to see to me. I think I tweeted about it earlier. Maybe I did, or I at least had it on the drafts. Then I deleted it because I didn't want to get too much in, have someone respond and get into a fight. Right. But when I saw him grab that rebound, regardless if you're up or down or tied, I'm almost gonna put that back in. I mean, he was right there. I mean, he didn't even have to make the ground. He grabbed it and he could have just
or at the very least, if you're gonna dribble, he was already in the paint when he got it, one dribbling up. There's no reason.
Hit the ground and go back up with it. But my concern was when he dribbled the ball, when he grabbed the rebound and dribbled it out for whatever reason, and he came back out and he looked at he was dribbling the ball and he looked at LeBron and LeBron looked at him. It was almost like they don't have any. Self-confidence in themselves. They almost got to go through LeBron. Grab the ball, run by LeBron.
Dude,
see if it's
it happened. It happened. Yes, I was watching the game.
You know what, though? My dad made a very interesting point to me when he said LeBron. He said, LeBron and Aaron Rodgers are the same to him. He goes, the teams without those two guys aren't any good. He said they literally got to carry both their teams. And Rodgers, it was proof this year with the Packers. Obviously I'm a Packer fan, so I'm going to talk. I always like to bring stuff back to them. But it's with him, we make the NFC Championship game 2 of the last 3 years. He's just that good to get us there. Without him, we don't make the playoffs. And we get the Vikings beat us both times. They're clearly a more rounded team. But with Rodgers, it doesn't fucking matter what you have on that defense. He is that damn good where he can pick you apart. LeBron, it's just yeah, Kevin Love's good. He's not an all-star really anymore. He's got nothing else really around him, man.
No.
He's
you're
a beast.
Though. I'm cracking up because they're about to dribble through, go to the hole, and then they're like, no, I'm going to kick out.
Well, you're right. You can't be too dependent. At the end of the day, it's dude, you're getting paid millions, too. Shoot the ball.
Decision.
Yeah, shoot that ball.
And I'm not saying that's, necessarily the case.
I agree.
Maybe he dribbled it out and was dude, but at the same time, regardless if I'm down, up, or whatever was going on in his head, bro, put the ball back in the hoop.
If you have an open shot, you got to take it.
Up by 3, make it so if you think you're up 1, put it back in, make him go 3, make him hit a 3.
Right. Make it so they can only tie you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There was 4 seconds left.
Yeah.
Because by the time you shoot,
he's probably thinking, right?
Wait a second and go back up.
Right.
If he thinks that they're winning, what he's probably thinking is dribble it out, it kills time, you get fouled, now you can go to the line and do it, and you killed some time. But still, it's just dude. How can you be that boneheaded to think not know that situation at all? And on top of it, if you're gonna just dribble it out, why are you dribbling and looking toss? If you love LeBron so much, toss it to him,
right?
Because let him get
grab
fouled.
the ball, throw it to him, and let him make the decision.
Dude,
right?
Yeah, so the Cavs definitely could have won that game, I think.
Oh
Definitely could have won
Hill,
that game.
bro.
If you're a starting point guard in the Jesus Christ, in the NBA, you should be making both those free throws. Anything. Even if you're a starting point guard in high school, you need to make your free throws, both of them.
Guys in college can bang those.
If you're any good, in my opinion, if you're any good in high school, you should like hit those.
It amazes me how bad even like centers are at shooting free throws. Like just how bad guys can be at free throws. Even LeBron, like the one knock you can really put on him is like his free throw numbers throughout his career aren't that like great. They're like 70-something%, which is like okay, but it's like, dude, how are you this good in your free throw? Like Curry's like a 90%.
He scored the most points,
which is insane
this year.
Yeah,
LeBron. I was looking at the stats last night.
He
In the regular season,
he's a beast.
He scored in the postseason too. But in the regular season, he had first most. James Harden had like second most. But James Harden played 10 less games, but he was down 60 points. So Harden had the most points per game. But speaking of stats, I was checking out like all the stats for baseball. Mike Trout and Mookie Betts lead in like everything except RBIs. It's insane.
My funny thing, and I always tell Red Sox fans why you guys got rid of John Farrell. That's his name, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I don't pay too much attention to him, but one of the reasons why John Farrell got canned last year is because Mookie Betts was hitting number one in the lineup. He had the most RBIs. I think he had the most home runs. And you got guys. He basically goes up there and does it himself.
Yeah.
He doesn't have anybody in front of him to do it unless they're at the bottom of the order, and those guys got to get on. And once I realized like that was going on, I was like, dude, this guy isn't utilizing your club correctly.
No.
Right,
and I was getting angry. I was like, dude, Mookie. And I watched the Red Sox games. I'd be like, this guy should be hitting third or fourth, maybe even second.
Wow. I never would have thought that.
I love Mookie, and you got to get guys on base. Imagine that. Imagine him taking last year. How good was he last year?
Did he have their most home runs last year? I thought Hanley did. I thought Hanley had like 24.
Most RBIs.
They really didn't have a guy that really overpowered
That
you
was
with
their
home runs.
dude. They're about to have more home runs because Martinez has 18. I think Hanley had
he's
like
killing the
24 or
ball.
25 last year.
Yeah.
Scherzer's stats are crazy.
Dude, how about the Astros? Though? The top 3 ERA in the AL is all the Astros. Verlander, Morton, then it goes Cole.
That's what's crushing the
Fourth
Yankees.
fourth
you guys
is
starting
Kluber.
pitching, dude.
Well, even then, though, you just
like,
saw what we did to
you'd
the
have
Stros
2
again.
losses.
And by the way, the Sox haven't played the Stros yet at all. We've beaten them, 3 out of 4 and 2 out of 3, so now we're
We
5
lost last
for
night, too.
5 for 2
Yeah.
to the Stros.
Who's in
Stros
first?
are
Who's in
good.
first, motherfucker?
We've played less games, though.
We got 4 more wins. 4-1. You got to go 4-1.
But
You got to go 4-1.
we have 1 less loss, and we've played less games. We've played less games. We
No,
missed like a
we
whole week
have-
of baseball.
we have 4 less games than you. I'm pretty sure.
5.
Yeah.
5.
I think it's 5.
Yeah, because
Now
they
it's
went
5.
through this weird stretch
You
of
didn't play
rainouts.
yesterday,
They didn't
right?
either.
Right, we gotta do
The
some-
Orioles
You didn't play yesterday, right?
rained out.
We
Yeah,
had a doubleheader on Monday.
So
yeah, it's somewhere.
no, because it
on
was
the-
4 before yesterday.
Yeah.
We were 4 wins ahead. We had the same amount of losses. Now we have 4 wins more and 1 loss more. So it's technically 3.5.
Look it up. But yeah, no, they're because they played.
3.5.
They missed. They didn't play the Nationals at all. They missed one of the games, I think, against the Royals because of flight delay where they had to sleep in the airport, which was crazy. They've had a weird little stretch
Yeah, it's
there. But no, their starting pitching is killing them. Sonny Gray sucks right now. There's just no way around that.
But they're still winning every game.
Well,
It's
it's
crazy.
because their offense is number 1 in baseball.
Their bullpen's carrying them.
Their
They're
bullpen and the fact that they're hitting they're outscoring people.
Right.
Could you
They're
imagine
not
Bryce
pitching.
Harper in that park, dude?
So we're one.
Dude, Giancarlo Stanton's just gotta go.
They're gone.
So the Yanks
Bryce
are
Harper's
1.5
shitty
back
fly
right now.
balls, dude. That's the thing. Even Yankee fans, one of my buddies said
That's
that to me.
probably one of the biggest. That's one of my biggest things about the Yankees is that they got.
Dude.
I want more of a respected field. I want people to hit home runs. Home runs.
I can't
Home
say anything though,
runs.
because the Monster's got to be. The Monster's probably a home run, right? As high as it is.
Yeah, well,
In right field, it gets
you gotta
pretty
get
short.
it
God,
up
this
there. You
sucks.
gotta get up there where most of the time, if you shoot it up that high, I would probably say
More times than not, it's a homer.
yes, 8 out of 10. Maybe.
So other than
dude,
the
have you
Red
seen
Sox,
some of the ones that Mookie and Bogarts
is
hit
it?
last week,
Oh,
in Martinez, they hit him literally out of the park on the land down street.
that was one of my favorite ever home run derby battles. Was Mark McGwire, and I think Jeff Bagwell was in it, but Mark McGwire was definitely the guy for that home run derby, and it was at Boston.
99.
It might have been. I don't know what year it is.
Because it was the year they had
He
the
was-
All-Star game, right?
He was hitting the ball out of the park onto the railroads, and guys would there was more people on the railroads trying to get the balls than the people were in the stands.
It was 99 because it was the year they had the All-Star game there.
Yeah, that was
dude. So if you remember that, because I don't really remember that too well, but you must remember Pedro in 99, 2000 then when he was just dicing.
Oh man, dude, Pedro to me is.
Did you hear that, Pedro?
Do you see though how Severino throws now? He throws a lot like Pedro does. He throws fastballs and changeups. That's what he's going with. And sliders. His sliders good too.
I'm a realist when it comes to sports more times than not. I would say so. My players who I enjoy more might not be related to my teams. One of my favorite pitchers of all time is Pedro. Because I love baseball. I love the art. One of my favorite pitchers ever.
100%
throws so hard. He threw my grandpa on the ground, basically with Don Zimmer. And when he was
running at him.
When he threw Don Zimmer on the ground, he might as well have thrown my grandpa on the ground at the same goddamn time. Because that's what my grandpa felt. He called my dad that day and was almost in tears, I bet.
Dude, I get it.
How can you do that? But here's the deal. Sit your ass down, Don.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Don't run. You don't run at somebody.
In the words of The Rock.
Oh, yeah, he just charged him.
Slow your roll and know your name, okay? Shut your mouth and know your role.
So I was looking at this here. So, yeah, the Sox have 4 more wins and 1 more loss. We're a game and a half back. But I'm also looking at the rest of this. Other than Houston and Milwaukee, those are the only teams that have 1 more win than the Yankees. And the only ones that have 1 more win. But the Yankees still have, 4 less losses than the Brewers and 5 less than Houston. So it's realistically the 2 best records in baseball right now are the Sox and the
We're
Yankees.
The only teams with
by winning percentage.
Only winning teams with a winning percentage over 65.
Yeah, which is just so literally the best. Which sucks is whoever comes in second in that division because now you got to go play the wild card, which is a 1-game play-in. So that division means something, but it's you have the best 2 teams right now in the same division.
I was reading an article literally right before you guys came over. As you guys walked in, I came over to say I had to put my phone away. It was an article talking about that, but it was also talking about how this season, statistically, we're on pace to have the most strikeouts ever in a season, and it's by a ridiculous amount. Really? This is the first season. This is the first
pitching
season.
Side or on a hitting side?
Same thing.
Are your pitchers throwing the most strikeouts, or your batters getting the most strikeouts? Are they striking out the most, or your pitchers causing the most?
They didn't specify. They're just saying strikeouts are happening more.
General?
So,
because it's either strikeout or home run.
And this is the first. This is the first 2
because last year they set the record for home runs right in the season by a lot, early.
What the article was, it was saying comparing past seasons to June 1st of this season,
right?
And it was saying that in the last 2 months since the wild card era, so '96, we've never had the whole league have more strikeouts than hits. There's always been more hits than strikeouts.
Right.
This is the first year where that's not true. And it's 285. It's a ridiculous amount.
Wow, that's crazy.
The other years it was 65 more hits, 120 more hits, 130 more hits. It was 265, 285 more strikeouts.
Wow.
And we're on pace to have the 5th most home runs ever.
They've also said there's just never been as many guys that could throw this hard in one time
or hit this far.
That's true too.
I mean, you got guys out there who are just absolutely sending missiles out there,
and you got to think that because obviously these dudes aren't really juicing anymore, so we think, but they think they might have to do with the baseballs.
My question is all right, baseball's obviously changing. I put up an article the other day about how I think Mike Trout is the best player in the game right now, even though Mookie's having a great year.
He's having a better year, but Trout's a better player.
I'll make an argument and say that Mike Trout to me is the greatest position player to date.
Wrong.
We'll talk about that after.
He could be.
We'll talk about that after because I want to talk about that.
No. Go
ahead.
And I'll give you one player.
Go ahead.
Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds is the best baseball player ever, in my opinion. That's it.
I can't disagree with you.
It's tough too because like I said, I watched a video on YouTube. Barry Bonds didn't. I can't remember what year it was, but if he didn't, it was to the 2004 season.
How many dingers did he hit that year?
That year.
Wasn't it in 01 he had the record? It was 73.
73, yeah.
So in 2004 he had 45.
Yeah.
Which is still a great.
But I mean, if you run it down, man, he at some part in the heat of his.
How many did he have in 01?
In 01, he had that was a 73. But the biggest.
Who won the World Series in 01?
Hold on, don't say it. Wait. Did the Yanks lose that year to the Diamondbacks? Or they won?
That is correct.
That's when they
lost.
But
here's the crazy stat. Do you know what OPS is?
Yeah.
On base plus slugging.
Right. And do you know how hard it is to have a really good OPS?
Yes.
Ted Williams has done it twice. Babe Ruth did it twice. Barry Bonds had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons over one.
Over one.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Which is absurd. The best ever was his 2004 season. He had a 1.422.
Oh, that is crazy. 1.4. I've never heard of a 1.4.
Mookie leading the league right now. He's got a 1.118.
He said, yeah. So
absurd.
the craziest stat was through this whole baseball analysis. Like they said, they took every at bat and they ran it through a simulator. I think they said at one point if he swung at a pitch, it was 81% of strike, 19% of ball. So they threw the simulator to finish what would happen, and they said his on base percentage was 608 with his bat in his hand, and with it out of his hand was 607.
So what you're getting
out of his hand.
So saying if they threw the same pitch and he didn't have a bat.
Basically he walked up to the plate with no bat in his hand and he just stood there. Whatever happened.
Like striker ball. So basically what he's saying, he's super disciplined at the plate. Because the ball, he wasn't swinging at balls either.
Right. Like, the crazy thing is they broke it down because I was skeptical too. I was like, there's no way. But they finished with that. And they broke it down to the point where they were telling how many walks he had in a season. So that year he had 232
Oh my
walks.
God.
Well, people don't.
Oh my God.
232 in his career. He had 2,558 walks. I think they made some ridiculous statement where they walked him 86 times as the first batter in the inning.
Right.
And
they just didn't want to throw it to him.
And here's the best homage that I don't think Mike Trout will ever see is being walked with the bases loaded.
I saw that the other day.
That he'd be so willing to just give up one run. He is so much of a threat in a sport where failure is you fail more times than you don't. So you would just play the numbers.
100%.
Bonds are like no. There was a pitcher. I can't remember the pitcher, but he flat out said there was only one batter I ever faced where it did not matter where you threw that ball. There was no weak spot in the zone for him, and it was Barry Bonds. He said high and away, dude's taking it the other way for a home run. Low and outside, saying he's driving that thing to the left center. Said it's the only guy I can never do that to.
Was that?
You know who has the highest on-base percentage of all time?
No.
Ted Williams. 482.
I
think Babe Ruth has the best slugging, though. Let me check that quick.
I mean, that's
no fake news. No fake news.
That's why I pulled that up, man. I'm not trying to...
it's just he could...
Ted Williams has a 482 on-base percentage. It's the best in baseball history.
On-base percentage. 482?
Yes.
No. It's OBP? No.
Yes. OBP.
Yeah, OBP. Barry Bonds, 2004, 609.
I'm saying career.
Career?
609.
Wait, go back to that.
That was what I was telling you guys about.
I thought that was just without the bet.
I thought you were saying the slugging percentage or something, dude. That is on-base percentage.
Which means...
Here's it. You ready? You ready for this? Ready for this?
Yeah.
2004, 609. 2003, 529. 2002, 582. 2001, 515. 2000, the year 2000, 440. 1995. This was before anything. 1995. Actually, let's go. 1999, 389 was his lowest year ever. 98, 438. 446, 461, 431, 426, 458, and 93. 456 and 91.
That's insane.
Like the guy's an absolute beast. You can't deny it.
Babe Ruth has the highest slugging average, 690. Ted Williams is second, 634. That's a big drop.
That is a big drop.
Lou Gehrig's third, 632.
But like the OBP for me.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. And like I was saying off the air, like Mike Trout is only 7 or 8 years in. So I mean, I can't realistically say, but dude, just what we're seeing from him, he's a 5. He is a Barry Bonds. He's a 5-tool player.
Oh,
a young Barry Bonds.
It's just the thing is Bonds had a longer career, so obviously right now, you give it to Bonds because he had the longest,
absolutely.
the best career.
But they're both like
Trout,
5-tool players.
Assuming he keeps ascending,
like
he could
Mookie,
be.
If he keeps up this power, like he's gonna be a 5-tool player too.
Without a doubt,
like,
the best thing to do is that we have actual people in our generation that we can kind of consider and reference to and call him like a Barry Bonds almost.
Yeah. Aaron Judge is hands down a 5-tool player.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, yeah, he can do it all.
DD's becoming one too. You know what I mean? Like
other than this, if we take this last month
out of this year,
we just got to take him out of
last month. I haven't even watched the Yankees.
Dude, so we started off the year batting 360 with 10 homers and 38 ribbies. It was like leading like all the categories in baseball, and now he batted this last month. He batted like .0 like 9 something. It was awful. He's like batting 230 now in the year.
Mookie was been laying in the dingers forever. But now he's second.
Didi just needs to wake up.
It's like 5 people tied for first. Trout, Martinez.
Wasn't Mookie the first person to take the pitcher from the Angels' yard?
Ohtani, yeah.
Ohtani.
Yeah, he smacked the shit out of that one of the first.
He threw that. That was a good pitch too. Mookie had to go down and get that.
Yes.
And I was very surprised.
I was watching the clip on that the other day.
Wow, that was a great.
That guy impresses me. Ohtani.
Yeah.
He impresses me, dude. He mashes and he throws 100.
Yeah.
No, he's more than 19.
It might be 20. He's young.
He had a career.
He's younger.
He's in his 20s.
Yeah, but you can have a career if you're playing in Japan.
Yeah.
They start you when you're 13.
It's not like Yu Darvish, who's been there a few years. I feel like they said he was only like 20 or 21.
What's his first name? Hoshi?
I don't know. Just type in Ohtani.
Yeah.
Ohanti, I think.
It's almost
Ohtani.
like hentai.
Yeah. Or whatever the hell.
Wow, that wasn't even close.
Yeah, I don't know his first name.
awful.
I'm terrible. My favorite one was still Ichiro Suzuki. Never put
Shohei.
Suzuki on the back of his jersey. It was always Ichiro 51.
Yeah, right.
It's like he has his first name on there. That's
Best, to me, the worst fail in ever from a Japan player to come to America. Unfortunately, played for
Don't
the
say it.
Yankees in 1998, I believe. His name was Hideki Arabu.
Oh.
His nickname was the Toad. They claim that he threw like 98 miles an hour. And when I remember watching, because this was kind of when I was like picking up baseball and like really getting to know what was going on.
right.
This motherfucker never touched 95.
Yeah.
Like it was all hype. I mean, he was good.
Dice K was a big bust.
I had a
You
T-shirt.
had even a shirt of him?
Rob used to walk around and be like the Toad.
Dude, the one I always
Complete
hated that
trash.
they had was when they had Ching-Ming Wang. I think it was from Chinese Taipei. Maybe it was the start of the year at the Yanks. They cut him like very shortly after his first 4 starts. He had like a 30 ERA, dude. He just got lit up.
Ohtani's a year older than us.
He's 24.
23. He turns,
Well, I'm 23.
he turns 24 in July.
Okay. Damn.
How about Jake Arrieta? In May, .90 ERA.
He's been filthy, though.
Yeah, when he was on the Cubs, he was really great. I loved.
Who's he on now?
He's on the Phillies.
That's right.
Why?
Didn't he signed with them in the offseason.
How-
It's all about the moolah.
Dude,
Yeah, he got
that team
paid.
was nuts in 2016, though. Like, listen to this lineup. You got Javier Baez, Chris Bryant, who won the Rookie of the Year and the MVP that year.
Anthony Rizzo.
Well, not the same year. Anthony Rizzo, John Lester, Arrieta, Aroldis Chapman.
Well, Aroldis Chapman was there for a cup of coffee just for them to put the.
Dude, that was still the greatest deal in recent day that Cashman made. He gave you that, and we got Gleiber. Gleiber's our best hitter right now.
He's going to
we got him
be
back.
a stud.
And then you sign him again the next year.
Listen,
Like, we're not going anywhere anyway, so fucking
Right.
take him. We'll
Listen,
take your best prospect.
Yeah, we're gonna go in the off season. He'll go to Dominican Republic, get him a ring, and then when you're done, just give him back.
And we'll
it.
by the way,
That's
we'll
what I
take your
feel.
best prospect and we'll take him.
Right.
Well, that's
And we'll
why
take
Theo
him.
Epstein is a G. That's why he's
It was
a
smart
G.
for him because he won in the short term. It's great for us because in the long term we were rebuilding kind of anyway. And we got your best prospect.
He got his JD from San Diego State, and then he went and go work
He
for the
could run
Sox.
law school.
The crazy thing for me is how
Went to law school, wanted to be a GM.
Yeah, how crazy low value players are at now, like what they're traded for. Back in the day, I just remember listening to Joey Diaz. He was talking about the Herschel Walker deal.
Oh,
with
the Vikings
to the
and
Cowboys.
Cowboys,
Did you know
yeah.
this? That's basically what upstarted their franchise.
Completely. He got so many draft picks and got so many good
like,
players.
They
out
got
of
like
that.
a first round for the first 3 years, a second round every other year. They got like 2 players.
Who did?
The Vikings.
The Cowboys got all these
Right.
picks for trading Herschel Walker, who at the time, I mean, they were horrible before they drafted, like Troy Aikman that year. So my dad to this day is still like crazy about that because the Packers just made some weird choice. I think in that draft, the top 5 guys, it went Aikman. The Packers got this lineman who turned out to be a total bust because he stopped doing steroids and was just awful. Deion, I think, who else went in that draft? Dude, there was some. Oh, Ray. No, not Ray Lewis. There was some horses though in the top 5. Like Hall of Famers were all in the top 5, except that one guy in Green Bay was number 2. And it had the Cowboys or had the Packers like lost the last game or whatever, they would have got the 1 pick and would have had.
Well, it's
Troy
like the
Aikman.
dude that
but
got
then it means
picked
they wouldn't
over-
have gotten Brett Favre.
It's
either,
like the
so who
dude
would
that
have
got
known?
picked over Dwayne Wade in that draft, right?
Oh, you're talking from the
After the
Pistons.
Bron-
Yeah,
the
it was,
European guy, right?
Yeah. Well, I think didn't
Darko?
Milicic?
Yeah,
Milicic, I think.
Why did I say Donnie Darko?
Dallas Cowboys got Troy Aikman number 1, and the Green Bay Packers chose
Tony
Tony Mandarich.
He was
offensive
terrible.
tackle from Michigan
He was terrible.
State.
He was such a bust.
But then there was
read
like
the next guys. though.
Barry Sanders.
Sanders goes 3. Who went for?
Derek Thomas,
Who
was a linebacker.
Linebacker with
Yeah.
Hall of Fame linebacker.
Didn't he play for the Buccaneers?
Yeah, I think it was him. Or no, was that?
No, that's Brooks.
I think it was the Chiefs, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah,
the
it was the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And then Deion Sanders
went 5. Yeah, it's like, dude, you have
Barry's,
Hall of Famers all right there.
Didn't Deion Sanders
Barry went
play,
right after. It's like, dude, we could have Barry fucking
Are they brothers,
Sanders.
Deion and Barry?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Which one played baseball? Deion.
Deion.
Barry could have though. I thought, right?
Deion's considered to be the best corner ever by a lot of guys. I don't know.
Deion hit a home
You
run.
don't know Bo. Bo didn't even play corner, and he was the best quarterback.
Bo Jackson.
But
is a beast.
Deion has a stat that Bo can't hold to this day, and Deion scored a touchdown and hit a home run in the same day.
That's insane.
That's nuts.
That is
That's
insane.
crazy.
That's
nuts.
that's awesome.
And he played for the Yankees.
Yeah, he did.
Deion played for the
Oh
Yankees.
my god.
He
And
did.
for the Braves.
That's
Like
nuts.
this, he was OG with the Braves, man. That was like David.
Did you know
Justice.
Bo
That's a
Jackson
crazy
did
stat.
not lift weights?
No, he hated it.
Wow.
Right, yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
He did
didn't
not
like it.
lift weights. I didn't believe that the first time I heard that. That's had to sink in for months.
That was all natural.
Like that's had to be months, and I've looked
He's
into
a
it,
horse.
and it's true.
Can you imagine him in high school? Probably the biggest douchebag
Dude,
ever.
there's a story. There's a
The
story
dude is so big though.
that
oh
when
my
he was in
God.
high school, the Yankee
he
scout
runs like a
came to see
deer.
him. I don't know if you've seen the 30 for 30 on him.
Oh, I've heard this. I've heard this one. I've heard this
I
one.
want to say I have, but not.
He was a senior in high school, and the Yankee scout wanted to come see him, so he came to practice and watched him practice, but Bo didn't get to hit. So he went up to the coach after, and he was just like, "Yo, I came here to see Bo hit. I'm from the Yankees. I want to see Bo hit." And the coach was like, "No, not today. Like, come back tomorrow." And Bo was like, "No, all right, I'll take a couple." So the coach was like, "All right." So they went over to the batting cage, dude, and he threw the one. And according to the story, Bo hit a screaming line drive, like dead center, like would have went 500 feet. The cage shook and fell.
Just collapsed the whole cage. Yeah. He
And
hit it so
the Yankee
hard.
scout turned around and walked away,
This
dude.
is like
He goes, "That's
some-
all."
Dude,
No,
I'm serious.
because I think by the same part of that story.
Dude.
Well, because he said the scout said
No.
like the coach was giving him a hard time,
No.
didn't want him to see him hit, and he's like, "All right, you get like 5 balls," and that was the first one. He goes, "That's all I needed to see,"
Right.
and he like
Somehow-
left, like he just
some-
roped
Nuts,
it.
Yeah,
Dude.
somehow I feel like through the years that story was elaborated. Like that
dude.
one guy who
Yeah.
catches the fish and it starts off like normal, like this, but then all of a sudden you're telling them and they're like, "I got this huge."
No, but you know what? You know what is a thing about
the ball and he knocked down the cage. It's like, dude, no, shut up. You're stop being like that.
supposedly
Dan, you're
he jumped
drunk
over
again, Dan.
cars. Supposedly he could jump over cars. He could.
This guy can do everything.
In 3.5
He
feet
was
of water,
Jesus
he could do
Christ as a
backflip, dude.
professional
I
athlete.
mean, but dude,
No.
look how big. Look how big he was.
You can't do a backflip in 3.5 feet of water.
That's what. That's
No.
what it said, dude.
I
You
I'd
gotta
have to
watch
see
this.
that. I
You
would
gotta
wanna see
watch
that.
this
I would wanna see
documentary,
that.
dude.
But dude, you know what? One thing.
Wait.
Once I do remember from the 30 for 30, there was a scout that said when he heard the ball, he said there's just the distinct sound of a wooden bat hitting a ball, but he said some of them it's just different. And he said he's heard one sound that came off of Bo's bat that he only heard one other time in his life. He said the only time I've heard a baseball hit like that sound off a bat was when Babe Ruth was playing. This guy was old.
And I think
He's
he
like,
said Mickey
Babe
Mantle,
Ruth.
too.
That are
I don't even know if
that
he said
already
Mantle, but he goes-
speculates. You guys are telling me this
He's
guy's
Babe
old
Ruth.
as hell.
Well, this is a different guy. Totally
Okay,
different
I was
guy. Yeah.
gonna say, this is the same guy. He's definitely got
No, this is
this
all
is a
different
This
stories.
wasn't a
These are all
Yankee
different
scout.
people
This was
saying
just a
stories.
different scout. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Because I've heard that sound twice in my life.
That's
Babe
not
Ruth
Jackson.
and Bo Jackson. Yeah. I was like,
You
Jesus.
did. All right. Next time before we do a podcast, we're gonna watch that for 30 for 30 because I
it's
want
a
to.
great
Dude,
one. You
this
don't
one
know
blew
Bo?
my mind. You don't
Yeah.
know Bo.
That's
Well, he is. He's
nuts.
probably the
He's a
best
freak.
athlete all around. Like when it came to actually playing two sports, I mean, he was an all-star in baseball and could have been a Pro Bowler. In
I
football
know.
if he
I've
didn't
shown
get
you the
hurt.
picture of him like stealing second base, dude. When he
Oh, he's
pivots,
fast as
dude.
shit, yeah.
His legs
Yeah, he's huge.
are literally the size of that fucking tree out there, and that's
who's-
not an exaggeration.
Whose legs are bigger, Bo Jackson's or Saquon Barkley's?
Oh, I've seen his
Bo
legs
Jackson's.
are shrunk.
Man,
Bo
those things
Jackson's.
Are,
He's
I
yoked.
sent that
He's
to him and I
yoked.
go, dude, he
Yeah.
clearly
He's
skips leg day. Yeah,
Dude,
because they got it from
right.
That Bo Jackson picture.
Barstool thing, dude. He is
So
jacked. His quads are huge.
I remember we're gonna do a little 360. I said it right. I always say we're gonna do a 180, and I say it wrong. The 360. I remember your senior year when you pitched in the championship game at Nunday. Because we were playing 7th grade modified that day in Oakfield, and Mikey Rapone was trying to get me to go to Notre Dame, so he was like, yo, they're playing in the sectional game tonight, why don't you come? So I was like, all right.
Yeah.
So he drove me there, and you pitched against, I don't remember who it was, but it was at Nunday, and you guys won.
Yeah.
And then I think you guys won regionals, didn't you?
Yeah, we
went to
state.
state.
Yeah.
First team ever.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was one of
Did you guys go to the finals that year?
No, we went to the semis. We made some really made some poor decisions, or made some errors, I should say.
Right.
were bad decisions.
Right.
But it was a great time. Like I loved it. Like looking at it, I wasn't in school for like 3 or 4 of those games, and I was just waking up, watching TV, taking a shower, eating my face off, and then going playing baseball. It was amazing. And then, like the Nun-Day game, I couldn't have been more relaxed. I think I jumped in my coach's pool that day. And
right.
It was just that was a fun time. Wow.
Yeah, dude, his legs are massive.
Like actually tree trunks.
Wow.
In every capacity.
How are his knees able to support that?
Well, that's why.
It's not ripping.
Well, that's what happened when he got
custom ordered pants just for him, just for his quads.
Leather stitched pants where the seams are, so they don't rip.
Well, I guess that's what happened when he got hurt. Like with that hip injury when he got tackled. I guess if it would have, they say the doctor that did the operation said if it would have been like a more normal person,
right,
he probably would have been all right, and it probably wouldn't have been that big of a deal. But just because it was Bo, like he had so much force going, just that hip in that socket just smashed.
It's like AP, man, when he broke his knee and then he came back like the next day, like
next season, yeah. And he ran for almost set the record, I think, for most rushing yards in a game, and he was MVP that year. Well, you know what the crazy thing is that people don't talk about? He was running for going for the rushing title that year. He didn't play the first game.
Yeah.
Toby Gerhart was the guy who played in that first game. Red'll know that, and throw back there fucking the White Hope, Stanford, Toby Gerhart there. I think that was his name, but yeah.
That was Toby.
But he played that first. AP really didn't play much that first game, and then from the second game on. So it's like he rushed all those yards, and he still didn't play in week 1.
The evolution of like sports is just crazy. Like
Peterson's
like that's what I was saying. Like Mike Trout's like the GOAT. Like dude, if you stick Mike Trout in the 50s, he's gonna hit 80 home runs a year. Like you stick Scherzer or Strasburg like back in the 50s, like dude, they're gonna dice people.
Absolutely.
I mean, Ray Lewis is obviously a beast, and there's obvious, but like, dude, those
There's
dudes hit so hard now, dude.
Some guys are
so
just
hard. Yeah.
There's a guy I worked with at Dick's Sporting. I'm not gonna name him, but he just says some of the most ridiculous things sometimes when it comes to sports, and a bunch of we like to mess with him. No, he's not a LeBron guy at all. But what his thing is, you ask him who the greatest like basketball player, or no, this is what he told me, right? If you were to guess the greatest football player of all time, who would you go with? I mean, it's tough, right?
Yeah.
But you'd go with somebody relatively more modern, right?
Well, I would go with Walter Payton.
Okay, that's fine. That's still way sooner than this guy he put. Let's put it that way. This dude wasn't playing with helmets.
Otto Graham.
It's exactly who he said. It was Otto Graham. I was like, are you kidding me?
Wow.
You said Otto Graham is the greatest player? Get the fuck out of here. He goes, he probably couldn't play today, but he's the greatest of all time. Sir, that doesn't make sense.
Right, it doesn't.
That makes no. If you're going to be the GOAT, you can play in every era ever. If you're the GOAT, I was just like, dude, Aaron Rodgers can play quarterback in any era ever. Tom Brady can play quarterback in any era ever. Adrian Peterson can be a running back in any era ever. Otto Graham cannot be a quarterback today. I'm sorry, he just couldn't.
He's like Nick Turturro in The Longest Yard. How come I can't be quarterback? Let's see why. He throws it and he goes, "That's why I sit down and shut up." I have popcorn on my hands.
So that's a good way to put it, because that's a good way to put it. Is what you were saying, play the game today. So here's a question. Could Babe Ruth in fucking 1924, when he's had the best season ever, could he play the game today?
No, because I honestly, if you put a Aroldis Chapman on him and you throw one down the middle, he's probably, first off, he probably would just walk away. What are you supposed to do when a guy throws 104 miles an hour? Listen, Aroldis Chapman throws the ball harder than any car Babe Ruth ever drove.
Right.
It never reached 100.
The only thing I could say is and these are a lot of like assumptions that you would have to hope for to even think he can play in today's era, would be you have to have like today's training regimen, right? He never went into this whole hot dog binge that he was completely into. Alcohol and hot dogs was his diet. You know what I mean? He'd actually have to be
Elvis diet, basically.
Exactly. He'd actually have to, and then train and like play as much as players today. And that's even then you're just hoping he had the talent to make it.
Yeah, baseball's different. I think baseball's
it's a totally different era.
Yeah,
totally different era.
You know what I mean? Than some other things.
But back to my other statement. I guess it kind of contradicts itself, is that players are so valued less nowadays. Super goofy trade, Babe Ruth's trade. Yeah. The play.
For $120,000 to fund a fucking play. This guy, literally the play was more important.
And he started an 6-year curse, 87 year, whatever long.
Shut the fuck up.
You literally had the ball here, and your owner was just like, drop the ball. 100 for no reason.
You only have the greatest baseball player we've ever seen to this point. Yeah.
Just ball, drop. And it was self-inflicted. It was like he was the one doing it. Let's do a play. Awesome, Babe. Yankees. Let's go see Annie. Let's. I bet he signed the guy. He's gonna be Daddy.
Dude,
The play wasn't Annie.
Right.
I used to know
get the picture.
name. I used to know the name of the play.
I don't even think the play's a famous one. I don't even think it took off.
That's what it was. No, Nanette.
No, not like that. That guy probably wired his way into a
more like
role.
no. Give me Babe back. What the fuck did we just do?
Okay, you know what's hysterical is the Sox won 5 before the Yankees ever won one, and then literally, I think Babe's first or second year with the Yankees, they won it because they won it in 21. I think was their first one.
Well, they had him and what they had Gehrig, right?
Gehrig, I think, came up a year or two after. Like I think Gehrig was.
Even after they won one.
Gehrig was there by 27 though for sure.
Well, yeah, he was a big part of that team.
I think 24.
You had him at you had 3-4. You had
came up.
Ruth Gehrig up the especially in that era,
bro.
Oh yeah, Jesus.
Forget about it. But here's a question for you. It might be an unbiased answer, and I'm just intrigued to what you're gonna say. Take the Red Sox history from now until when they started, and take the Yankees history now and when they started. You had the 86-year curse. We've never had one.
Right.
We've won so many championships. I mean, people always say like that's your crutch, yada yada yada. But in my opinion, if you're a Florida Marlins fan and they won 32 World Series, you're gonna be in the same situation. What would you rather have gone through that curse and come out the other end the way you did, or would you have rather gone
dominated throughout those years?
Not only dominated, but like maybe have some spurts. Maybe have a year where you win 2 or 3.
Well, it's exactly what you said. It's biased. I'm happy where I'm fucking at.
That's what I'm saying.
I love.
Well, and it's also because perspective. Like you weren't around during the cursed years. Like when we really started getting into baseball, like the Sox started getting good and they broke the curse.
Like, dude, my grandpa and my dad cried.
Aaron
like
Boone?
in 04 when they won. Like I saw them cry.
That's amazing.
I got it because I watched 03. But, like, there's so much more than 03.
Right.
Like, there's a
Bill
whole
Buckner,
book before 03. Like, 03 is like a chapter.
Yeah.
But I will say this. Everybody knows I'm a big Sox fan. I'm not dumb. The Yankees are the greatest franchise in the history of American sports, period. That goes without saying. They've won 27 championships. The next is the Cardinals with 11.
Yeah,
like,
it
just is what it is. That being said, you guys are still cocksuckers. No.
You guys.
But
it's okay.
No, it's cool. I mean, I like that we've been winning, but I mean,
I'll be a cocksucker with 27 championships.
It's the Yankees.
We'll take that.
It's the Yankees though. Like, you think about it's not that long ago. Like, they won 96, 98, 99, 2000, lost in 01, lost in 02, like 03. Early on. 03 they lost in the World Series. Right. 04 they lost in the World Series. So 6 years they went to the World Series.
And they could have. I think they were actually talking about it first take a little bit. Kellerman goes, you realize if they would have won that one in 01, the Yankees would have won 5 titles in 6 years?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is absurd.
My dad
wow.
at TF Brown's in the dining room. If you walk in, it's like on the far left side. There used to be a picture that had every single World Series won by the New York Yankees. And not to be like a jerk or anything, but it mesmerized me. Like, I'm telling you, I'd look and it'd be like 29, 31, 33, 34, 36, 37, 50, 51, 52, 59, 61. Like, it was just like, to me, I every time I'd go over there, I'd look and I'd be like, that's fake. Like, there's no way.
DiMaggio played 13 years, which is crazy. That's not that long. He won 9.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, Yogi's got 10.
Yeah,
Yogi's got 10.
Yeah,
which is absurd in and out of itself.
But
Yogi's
got
Bill
one
Russell.
as a coach, right? Or 10 as
no,
a player.
10 as a player.
10 as a player, yeah.
Bill Russell's got a lot too, though.
Yeah,
he's got 11.
Yeah,
he leads.
He played 12 years, I think, and has 11 rings or something ridiculous.
He's got at least 10.
Like
I know he's got 10.
And even then, I think he was in the finals that year, and they lost to the Lakers, maybe.
Yeah. Can you imagine Bill Russell being like having that what Bill Russell did nowadays? Like 11 championships, people would hate the crap out of him.
There's a high school. I don't want to say his name because I don't know whatever. But there's a high school athlete at Batavia right now. He's got 19 sectional patches.
Wow. So you must do like track and like individual stuff too, right?
There's football and track.
Football.
That's what I'll say.
Probably indoor and outdoor.
Yes.
Yeah. Because that's how you get that many
talented.
patches.
He is very talented.
Oh, hell yeah, man! That's very impressive.
I'm excited to see where
19, dude. I would literally give my left nut for one. My senior
brother
year.
would have said the same thing to me.
I would literally cut my literally.
I won one in football and I won one in baseball.
I got one in basketball and one in football.
Football for me wasn't like I wasn't connected to the team as much. I mean, I was a junior and the guys who were ahead of me were just unbelievable. And I had think we had one kid on the team who had like the most tackles in our school history until Cam got there.
Yeah, I was gonna say when did you graduate? You were
2008. So we had
that was what the
0607.
that was the Carl Geis year. Yeah,
Colin.
Cam's got the most tackles.
I want to say Cam has like the most tackles. He has some really prolific.
That's nuts.
Cam was good, man. Cam was really good. Cam was good.
Well, that him and Tommy were pumped
On the left side of the line, yeah. The center
dude.
was Shank. He had Conklin on the right, or when Corona was also the other lineman on the right side.
But Corona was on the line.
Yeah. Corona's because
he's a tough kid. I'm sure he's a tough kid. You know what I mean? I'm sure he's a tough kid.
Yeah, that's what we
had
to
the left side.
You had to put like the toughest sons of bitches on the front line. Like my brother's senior year, the center, I shit you not, was 130 pounds. He went from quarterback to center. I'm pretty sure, or went to the line. Went to the line. I can't remember his name, but he definitely went from quarterback to the line, and it was just like. How do you do that? But that's what we had to do.
See, I've been loving the line, though, like my senior year, because we had some big guys. Like, Red was our center then. We had Lapple on the left, and you still had fucking, who the hell else? We had Spear. I'm trying to think.
Conklin.
Yeah, he had a face, yeah. No, not Conklin, because he left after junior year. Our junior year line, though, was actually probably even better, because he still had Stefanelli, we just had bodies. We had big boys. I actually remember that one.
That was probably like the last time.
Your brother was actually, I think, coaching still that year. He was like an assistant,
Ricky was really good. Ricky was
a good athlete.
Ricky, I think.
I remember we played basketball.
I remember the game I went to. I think it was his senior year. It was him and Swinton were on the team, right? Jason Swinton.
Yeah, see, that's...
And they lost to Elba and Chachi, right?
Yeah, the crazy thing is my brother, I think, set the school record that year for most tackles. I'm 100% positive.
On football?
Because
I know
he so there was probably Colin's brother was on the team, broke his leg, out for the year. Jared Anderson,
he got hurt,
pitcher,
right?
didn't want to play because he was afraid of getting hurt, tore his ACL. Matt Pratt broke his arm. Like my brother had like the worst senior year situation ever. But the crazy thing is, it made him shine because he was the punter and he would punt the ball in the air. And the guy would get it, and my brother would go make the tackle. Like, it was crazy to me. He had, like, not a ridiculous amount of tackles, but he had he was aggressive. Yeah. I remember watching him go play in college once in a preseason game, and some guy was just standing around watching him, and my brother came and, blindsided him, and the guy flew.
I'll tell you a funny story.
Where'd he go to college?
Brockport. He started at Bonaventure, and then he transferred to Brockport and played football.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you a funny story. We were like 9. I think you were there. I'm pretty sure you were there. We were at Bailey Moog's birthday party, and Notre Dame had a game that night, and it was when your brother was on the team, and your brother was just tearing it up. So he knew Sam Moog. So Sam Moog had him like sign like 10 different pieces of paper. Sam Moog came home and gave us all like your brother's autograph. I'm serious, dude. I had it for like a year or two, dude. I'm like this little like 9-year-old kid. Do you remember that or no?
I don't remember. I do remember you guys getting his brother's autograph though, but you know why? Because there was a kid from East that I like wanted hit really bad because my dad. Okay, so I don't know how my dad got this game. So it was a basketball game. He had East High versus Edison Tech, and at the time it was the game of the week. So it was going to be on like Time Warner Cable. Like final score was 100-70. This is a high school basketball game. I witnessed 11 dunks, 7 of them by the same kid. His name was Nate Brumfield. Now this team was loaded. He was an absolute beast, and one of them was one of the sweetest dunks I've seen like in person from a high schooler. He had the ball. He stole it from this kid, and he just had his teammate to the left and right, and there's nobody in front of him. He just looks at both of them dribbling it down, just smiles, goes up, and I shit you not, from like just inside the free throw line, just almost like Jordan did, and slammed it down. I'm like, I was with Joe Ryan. He came with me, and we were just looking at each other like, oh my god, that was the sickest thing ever.
That's awesome.
Was that I think I went and saw that guy play with you a couple times.
Nate Brumfield. Well, yeah. You know who they ended up losing to? They won sectionals, but they lost to Section 6. That was the year they had to run into Niagara Falls, who had Paul Harris and Johnny Flynn.
You want to hear something?
That's who.
They ran into Paul Harris and Johnny Flynn. They were gross.
My dad was our AAU basketball coach, and then like in 7th and 8th grade. But my dad would always make us play like a year up. That was like always like, you don't get better unless you play.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
I don't disagree with it at the time. It was just super tough to go through because we walked down the court and it was Johnny Flynn and Paul Harris.
2 dudes are at Cuse, by the way.
We were in 8th grade and they
D1.
And they were, I can't remember if they were younger than me or I'm pretty sure they were older than me. Yeah, they're definitely older than me. And after the game, they were supposed to play with like 14 and 15-year-olds, and Paul Harris's mom threw him the keys and was like, "Hey, we'll see you. We'll see you at the end of the game, or we'll see you at home." And threw him the car keys. And I was just like, I looked at my dad. I was like, you're a fucking dick. Paul Harris dunking on us. And I'm like, Paul Harris's younger cousin was the point guard, and I was the point guard, and I was defending him, and I reached in, and it was I learned the lesson: you reach, I teach.
Right.
It's awful, and it wasn't even fair. Like, at the game, like halftime, it was like 65-8.
That's
yeah,
nice.
well, and it's like those dudes are just so good. It's not even like they weren't even just like Division I like good. Like they didn't go to like Canisius where I went to high school. You're like Niagara, like those guys are good, but this is like Syracuse. Like this is an elite Division I program. So it's like a different. Like Johnny Flynn got drafted into the NBA.
Had a decent 4-year.
Yeah, which
career.
but still, he was like a top 10 pick in the NBA. Just like, oh shit, like this dude's like, you got to be even really, really good just to get drafted into that. I just remember that team, dude, and they just could not get by Niagara Falls. They had no chance. Like, it's like as good as Brumfield was, and they gave him a good game. But Paul Harris and Johnny Flynn were just way too much. And Flynn was a freshman that year, and he was just starting, dominating. Dude, they were so fucked up.
It's crazy how many people fizzle out. Like how many people, like Matt Leinart was a god.
Oh, Matt Leinart.
Vince Young was a god.
Yeah.
Reggie Bush did all right.
Reggie Bush was better than all of them in college.
No, I'm talking about football. Like I'm talking about when they went from college to the pros.
Oh, like their career, like their pro
Those
career.
three all won the Heisman though. Or no, Vince Young never won it. I don't think.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, Vince won it his last year.
Leinart won it.
I thought he did.
Leinart won it like his junior year.
Leinart won it then, and then Bush won it the senior year. So maybe I don't know if Young did get it. I thought
I think
he
Vince
might
came
have.
in third that year. I know he did.
But he won the national title.
Yeah,
that's when
that
he showed up for that one. That was one of the craziest national championship games of all time.
College football is the best.
That's what I was trying to remember. I was going to ask you about, and now I finally remembered, dude. I go to the restaurant and I see all that memorabilia up in there. Like, dude, how in the hell did you guys get some of that stuff? There's like Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio signature, Muhammad Ali autographed boxing glove, like some sick posters. Like, how did he get a hold of that stuff?
Oh man, my dad's got connections. Like my if there's like the sink breaks at my house, he knows a guy.
Who knows another guy's sister?
But you got to remember, back when he kind of started getting all that stuff, it was easy to contact big time people because he at the time was running sports night at Notre Dame.
Oh, okay.
And it was one night a year they'd bring like O.J. Simpson and they bring like a really big time person.
Yeah.
And it was easier to get to those type of people. I mean, I remember at 7 years old reading a book that had celebrities' addresses on it.
Oh, shit.
So, you can kind of contact people who can get in contact with those people. I'm sure he bought it, raffles, won some stuff, traded, yada, yada, yada. But most of that stuff, meeting those people. I mean, my aunt Kara, my Uncle Ben, met Muhammad Ali. They didn't get those gloves from him. But, there's a lot of...
That's not
Ricky Williams signed
dude,
pictures.
there's like
you mean Muck Dog's great, Ricky Williams?
Yeah, there were they have I think I want to say there's a football in there that's signed by every single Heisman up until like 85.
Oh shit!
Every single Heisman.
Dude,
winner.
there's some crazy stuff in there. Like,
so let me ask you this: I've always wanted to know, what does TF stand for in TF?
I think I can tell you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to say, give you a guess. Yeah. Is it named after a baseball player?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so when my dad decided to go from Mancuso's to a different name, there was two that they were picking between. It was Mantles, obviously.
Right.
And but there was one in New York at the time, so my dad was kind of hesitant about that.
Right.
And then there was TF Browns. And TF stands for Three-Fingered Brown, which is a pitcher. His real name was Mordecai Brown, and he was a pitcher, and he couldn't stamp off any curveballs because he only had three fingers. I think it was the thumb, the middle, and the pinky.
Okay.
And he was a professional pitcher back in the day. And one Christmas, my dad had bought my brother a pack of players cards, and he was like a throwback card in there. And my dad was like, "Yo, we got to do it. We got it."
That's great.
Now it's got to be TF Browns.
Dude,
that's
crazy.
Brown. That's crazy.
But I didn't know anything about that. That's not some name.
So when did the name change? I want to go from Mancuso's. Was it always like
95?
95. Okay.
Yeah.
And how long's the restaurant been there then?
Since the 30s.
Oh shit.
In that building.
When did your family take it over?
Since the 30s. We've always had it.
Wow. Since the 30s. Holy shit. So that's longer than I thought.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we've had it for...
Has it always been like a sport?
No, it used to be Italian restaurant, fine dining, but at the same time we had a ballroom back in the day. And what we would do is we also had the Mancusos also had the theater next door. So what they would do is they would go from the theater to the restaurant. And they would take the act, and they had crazy acts like at that time, big time acts. So they would take it, and I mean, it's just the history's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it's been that long.
Yeah.
The 30s.
I didn't know that either.
So when did the bowling? Like when did it become bowling out there? You know,
bowling was around the 30s as well.
Same
like
time
when we first opened. It was ballroom, bowling, and the restaurant.
So what theater did they have? I'm trying to think of where.
You know the City Church now.
Oh, was that
the Marquee? It was Mancuso's
yeah.
theater when I think we stopped.
Okay.
I think it stopped like when I was like 6, 7, or 8 years old. But the craziest story I've ever heard was when my great grandfather or my great great grandfather had owned it at the time. It was Mancuso's. The Italian crime family at the time in Niagara was the Magadino family, and they sent his henchmen in to get payment for being on his land. And at the time my great grandfather was like, no, I'm not doing it. He's like, okay, well, we're going to send Mr. Magadino in. He's like, go ahead. So he did. And my grandpa tells me the story. My dad tells me the story. Like they swear to the Bible that, they sat down and they had a conversation. My great grandfather was like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to pay you any money. And I know, I come from Sicily. Like I'm not scared of you. Apparently you never did. And we were able to keep the business at that time. Which is like nuts to me.
That's
he
crazy.
said that's like a mob boss. Yeah.
What? Okay, see, now that's nuts to me because Magadino, like you think, like obviously you're right. The mob out here, the Italian mob in Buffalo and Rochester was bigger when the mob had its heyday than it is now. But like to think that even Batavia was like influenced by that. Like, that's crazy.
Actually,
that's crazy.
The craziest thing about it is Batavia used to be from Batavia to Niagara Falls. That was all Batavia. Batavia is the birthplace of Western New York.
Yes.
Right.
It used to before they all went their separate ways in Buffalo, Amherst, yada yada yada. From Batavia to Niagara Falls was all Batavia.
Yeah, because Batavia was where Joseph Ellicott like founded Western New York. Like Batavia is older than Buffalo. Yeah. Batavia was intended to be the Buffalo.
Right.
It was supposed to be. Like
it didn't work out.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But people don't know that.
Yeah.
People like I meet people all the time. Like I'll meet my girlfriend's friends. Where are you from? And they'll be like, well, I'm from Batavia. And they'll be like, Batavia? That's crazy. I'm just like,
Batavia.
bro, back in like the 1800s, this was Batavia. Everything was Batavia.
Yeah.
Right.
People don't give respect to it. And I don't think it earns that much respect. Or I don't think it gets that much respect.
Yeah.
In that sense.
It could have been. Mr.
It's
Volpe
very
told us,
unique, Batavia in its own way. You know what I mean? It's not like the Buffaloes or Rochesters in terms of like size or stuff, but it's got everything you need. You know what I mean?
It's
like,
changing though.
Yeah, it is.
It's like it's diff. I mean, we weren't around 50 years ago, so we can't say it. But like, dude, there's been a stark difference, and I really believe this. Like compared like my freshman year of high school to my senior year of high school, like I saw a transformation. Like how the seniors were my freshman year was a lot different than like we could be my senior year. You know what I mean? Like we saw, and I think a lot of it has to do with this. Like this
social media.
Like you don't even have to say that this is it, but this defines it. Like the social media age, like it's a lot different than 20 years ago, and I see that around the whole time.
Well, even just cell phones in general changing everything. I remember when I used to ball boy back then in the for the high school guys when I was really young, and I remember one year there was just a party. It was at Ryan Anderson's house, and it got busted up, and so many dudes got. But it was because like through like phones and people seeing like messages, and like that's what screwed them over. Like, granted. And the fact that somebody called the cops on him, but I just remember that. I remember Andrew Trace got kicked off the team. I remember all of that.
That was my junior year when he got kicked off the team.
Yeah, I remember that.
Sophomore year, like Ryan Francis and all them. But like, crazy thing to me now.
Because those were the 2 years I did it. I did it your sophomore, then in your junior year. That's right. Because I remember you being on JVs and then to varsity.
Yeah.
Pat still is the only 4-point play I've ever seen in a Notre Dame game. He got fouled at the three, and then he buried it, and then got the free throw. He's the only 4-point play I've ever seen.
When I buried the 3, I went off like I just won the World Series.
Oh, dude, you were going crazy. You were like,
let's go.
Yeah, he was so pumped. He was. That was hilarious. I remember that. I do remember that. It's the only 4-point play that I've ever seen. I'm sure there's been other ones.
But going back to the Batavia thing, like it's different now. Like it's a good place, like still, like if you're in the right area, but like. Shootings, stabbings.
It comes
there's
around.
People,
culture comes around.
There's people like 7-Eleven got stuck up like a year or two ago. Like there was another
just
shooting on Liberty
in,
Street,
in, like Austin Park too. There's like a lot of stuff.
Dude, there's like
there.
multiple times there's been like 40.
But like I feel like when we were younger, like that
Austin
stuff
Park.
just didn't happen like as frequently. You rarely heard about it.
You would like to think it wouldn't be. I feel like because you're so naive, you're not thinking.
Yeah, maybe.
About it.
Was there a shooting? Could you? But dude, I'll put it this way too.
Let's put it this way. My parents had no problem with me like riding my bike around back then, right? Like even around those times late night. Like they wanted you home, but like they understood. Hey, we played like hide and seek and stuff. Like, you know what I mean? We were just being little kids.
Yeah, but
doing our shit.
you were also riding your bikes around with 6 other dudes.
That's true. You. But even now, my like even what was it when Spencer before he even got into high school, like 7th, 8th grade. Now maybe just because he's younger, but they're like, no, like it's not safe like that anymore. Like it's different.
When I was 14, 15, like when I was a freshman, sophomore, I used to walk anywhere. I used to walk over to Narramore from here at 2 a.m, literally just to go do whatever. Right. Like I'm gonna be honest, dude. I would have a problem doing that now. Like I would want something on me. Like I would be. I really would.
Definitely on edge for sure. I think the time I knew when it switched over is when I moved home from Chicago.
Okay, yeah.
Like the first day I got home, I didn't have a car or anything, so I walked to like Brown's. I think Cam was bartending, and I wanted to go see him. And my mom was like, "Be careful when you walk there." I was like, "It's amazing, Batavia."
It's Batavia, right?
Right. You're coming out like
you just get to Chicago where there's like more murders per capita there. Yeah,
craziest stuff in my mind in Chicago. You're telling me to be careful walking from Redfield to East Main Street.
Right.
Get out of here, man.
Right.
Like I'll be fine even if a guy approaches me. Yeah. I'm from I lived in Chicago.
Right.
And, like I knew at that time like something was different, but it was.
See, it's just and I think a big part of it is the people that are coming in here where these crimes are happening are coming from more the inner city of Buffalo and Rochester, and a big part of that is I hate to phrase it this way, but it is a reality of it. Tax rates and stuff are lower here, and some of the people you get from those inner cities happen to be on government assistance, right? And you get more out of that money.
You're an awful person for saying facts.
No, dude,
you're an awful person.
It is a fact. We have lower.
I was just about to say something like you were looking at him like you were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
those are fat. Like you can't.
Like you can get more really for your welfare money in Batavia than you could in Buffalo. The tax rates are lower. It's reality.
People get so politicized by hearing trigger words, and it's just like, whoa, like hear them in the context they're being said.
Right,
it's just a fact. Like,
I understand there are certain people who need the system.
Yeah.
But there are certain people out there who make careers out of the system.
That's true.
Who have no interest in actually making a benefit towards the society. And if that's you, fine. That's fine. You know, do your thing. I got no problem with it. Right. But like, don't stick your nose in my business. Right. I won't stick my nose in yours.
Absolutely.
I agree. And it's just, and again, that doesn't mean to say all the people that are coming like that are criminals. But I'm just saying, with that, crime rates are higher in those type of communities versus what we're accustomed to.
And it's just
that's
like
just a fact. Yeah. I'm just, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I'm not trying to be prejudiced or segregating anybody, but you know what I mean? It's just a fact.
But I understand it's good because we have to have that pushback because it was the opposite. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of segregation and like things were taken the wrong way. But now I feel like it's getting to a point where it's like if you are like a straight white male, like and your opinion doesn't align 100% with what it's supposed to,
the status
by the
quo,
left side, like I don't know, and I'm more of a left leaning person, but I don't know.
I know
that's
what you're
how
saying.
I feel
You get to be more.
Everybody, man.
You can't even like say anything.
I think that's with everything and everybody, and it drives me absolutely insane. Like you can't. It's okay to disagree.
Oh yeah, conflict's good. Conflict's good.
I love it. Like I love when I come through or I'm working at the bar and some guy comes in with a Patriots jersey on. I'll throw him some homage. Yo, TB12, amazing player, but go fuck yourself. And we're gonna argue all day, and that's okay because at the end. So many people are afraid to get in confrontation. They would rather text me an argument instead of calling me, and I'm like, what, man? Like, it's okay to disagree with me. I'll see you later, bro. It's like I want to end the conversation with, okay, man, I'll see you later. Instead of throwing the two birds up and be like, take two of these, see me in the morning.
Right. No, I hear you though. Conflict's a good thing. That's how we evolve. That's how we progress. How everything improves. Improve.
You fail.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what people are afraid of doing now. I watched a great guy who I listen to. I think he has a podcast, Gary Vaynerchuk.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Gary?
Isn't he a comedian?
No, he's a motivational speaker.
Oh, okay.
And what he does is like he motivates like people who are for like 45 years old. It's like, dude, you're 45 years old. You still got like 40 years left of your life.
Yeah.
Don't just sit there and be ready for retirement. Get ready to go. And that. To me, people need the truth. They need to hear like some of the actual stuff that's going on. And he's one of the people to me that like pushes it out there and lets people know. And he's not afraid to say anything. And it's what people need to be.
You shouldn't. We need people like that, and it's not that you should like follow those people religiously, but we need them because a lot of the stuff they say is spot on. But you got to know when to
Turn it off.
Yeah. You use them as guides. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I like that you're so into Joey Diaz, because, like, I'm super into Joe Rogan. So, like, now,
I'm
like,
both.
after hearing you talk about him, like, I'm probably, like, exactly. Like, I'm probably going to go check out Joey Diaz.
Oh, yeah,
more.
the Church of What's Happening
I listen
Now.
to Brendan Schaub.
Do you know who else
so.
is really funny that all those guys have on as a guest is Theo Vaughn?
Yes.
That dude's hilarious.
He was on it recently.
Yeah.
On Joey Diaz, and I listened to the whole thing. He is great.
He's so funny. The shit that guy says
Who's
off the top
guy?
of his head's like,
Bert,
wow.
Bert
He goes to
Bert
Schaub
Fisher.
on the most recent one. He goes to Schaub. He goes, "You look like you've just been stung by a hive of bees." Just because like he's like, he's like you swollen looking motherfucker. He's just like, you look like you've been stung by a hive of bees.
Like, you don't realize
like,
when
what
he's on
the
camera,
fuck?
but you see a picture of Schaub. He's a big dude.
Dude, he fought in the UFC. Like he was 6'4",
right?
like, and he was like 240, 250 then. He said when he was and he played college football. Like he was a D1 college football player, and he said back then his weight was like 280, 290 because he had to be. He was a DN.
He dated Ronda Rousey.
He did date Ronda Rousey. Yeah.
Dated Ronda Rousey.
What?
Yeah.
Crazy, man. How you'd be able to deal with that? You'd be like, who, you know, you get an argument, who could fuck up who more?
Right.
I'd
really
still
good
probably
argument.
put my money on him.
Yeah.
But it is
Oh,
Ronda
yeah,
Rousey.
yeah. Well, he's a
But Ronda
professional.
Rousey's like...
Ronda Rousey can fuck up a lot of guys that I know. Yes.
There was actually a story where she was actually had the police called on her once.
For
She went
domestic,
to
abuse?
She went to a movie theater, and there was a girl who was like sitting behind her and had her feet on her chair and kept kicking her chair. And Rhonda turned around and was like, "Hey, you can please stop."
Hey,
And like,
motherfucker.
it didn't stop. And the girl kept doing it. And she turned around. And she's like, at the end of the movie, she's like, "I told you to stop. How come you didn't stop?" And the guy was like, "What are you gonna do about it?" And she beat like both of the dude's ass. Who's with the girl? And they went to the cops and told the cops. The cops went up to Rhonda's house and was like, "Did you beat two dudes up?" And she was like, "Yeah." They're like, "Okay, have a nice day." And like left, and that was it. Like she's badass for sure.
Dude, she's... Her, Amanda Nunes,
Cyborg.
Cyborg.
Cyborg's probably the best out of all of them, man. I want to see
She'd
that
eat
fight.
your children.
Nunes,
She'd eat your children
Nunes
for dessert.
Cyborg's got a deeper voice, I think, than me. Like you listen to her talk, and like,
Facts.
whoa, how much testosterone is pumping through that girl? Like, there's no way. Sounds like freaking Brittany Griner. Just the deepest
All right,
voice in the world.
Maybe this isn't so serious, but let's see. I want to see what you honestly think. Maybe DJ's a bad example. Let's take an okay flyweight
Okay.
versus Nunes. So 125 versus Nunes, who's what, 135, right?
Versus a guy,
Yes.
I'm still taking any UFC guy over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
still
kind of
different.
tough. I mean, even if you put like Conor in
dude.
octagon with Floyd, I mean, they're both males.
Right.
Conor
But like,
would kill
it's not even fair because just like the pure like knowing everything about the UFC, bell rings, boom, within 5 seconds you're on the ground, ankle lock, game over. And
Yeah,
it's like
if-
boxing.
Well, he
I
wouldn't
mean,
even do that. He would just fuck with him.
Right.
Knowing his
kick
ego,
him, yeah.
knowing he just got TKO'd by him in boxing, he would try and knock him out. But if he was trying to be strategic, fuck yeah. He's a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You take that
Right.
guy to the ground inside of 30 seconds and you tie him up like a pretzel and it's over. And you're not nice about it. You mount him and you
Get
just
him in
try and
full.
pound him that way, and if he rolls over, you choke him.
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
I could see Conor getting him in a full mount and then pounding him and then grabbing his arm and getting in an arm bar and locking him for 3 seconds and then letting go and standing up. Be like, "No, come on, let's keep going. This is a gauntlet. We're gonna get it."
Yeah.
Right.
And
You're
I
going to
can
suffer
see-
in here.
This
Right.
is
You're
a
going to
gauntlet.
suffer.
I can see
Yeah.
that happen, and then when he can't take it anymore, rear naked choke, game over.
Right, it's just like, you're going to suffer in here because I had to go into boxing and deal with that shit for 10 rounds. You're going to suffer in here, kid.
This is a
Right. That was-
gauntlet.
If he were nice about it, he could end that inside of 30 seconds.
Who,
if he wanted to.
10.
The moment he
in my
catches Floyd, it's over.
Right.
Like, just grabs a hold of him.
When do you have you watched the UFC lately? Like, have you followed up on it the last few months?
The last time I really followed up on it was if Rogan was talking about it, or if I saw Conor throw that.
What I'm
dolly.
specifically asking about
yeah,
is this
the
whole
dolly.
Conor Khabib thing, dude. Are
Yeah.
you? Because there's some
I'm
good
a
fights coming up.
I'm a huge MMA fan.
the
I
way-
love the UFC.
The way that I look at it is that Conor is getting so much hella treatment, like special treatment for that, because you
He is.
can't tell me that
He
if,
is.
like
Anybody
there's someone,
else.
no, but there's someone in every sport.
There
There's
is.
someone in every. LeBron can do that and get away with it. Like if I'm trying to think of a fighter who would be comparable to that. Anybody other than Conor or a champion.
Eddie Alvarez.
Habib. If Habib did that, he's out of the UFC. Forget about
Probably.
it. See you later. Drug
He'd be in
testing.
trouble.
What's in your system? I'll see you later. You're going to court.
Yeah, he'd be in trouble.
But now they see it and they're like, okay, you've made us a lot of money and you've made us so prevalent in around the world. You want to fight Habib?
Yeah. Be like, here, listen, we're not gonna defend you in court because image, right? We can't do that. Right. With that said, as soon as you're ready to fight again, man, come on in. We're not suspending you either.
No,
we're not gonna stop you. What the commission does? All right, if America, you can't come to America for a while, we'll go fight in Europe. Yeah, it'll take off.
Dude,
over there.
there's some good fucking fights coming up. You got DC versus Stipe.
Oh, I can't.
You got Dillashaw versus Garbrandt too.
You also have Colby Covington against RDA for the welterweight interim title winner. That's going to have to face Woodley to unify.
Isn't Colby the dude that said he was going to smack around Joe?
Yeah, he said he'd slap Rogan the next time he saw him. But the funny thing is, Colby Covington, right now he's fighting for the interim welterweight belt.
Because Colby said something about John Jones, and Rogan was like, "Yo," on one of his podcasts, he was like, "Yo, you better watch what
he
you're
goes."
saying.
He said, "Dude, you weigh 170 pounds. John Jones 205. He said he's going to come up and smack you." And that's when he said, "I'll smack Rogan." And there was a joke though. Bisping comes back and says, "Honestly, I think Joe would slap him back." Rogan's 50.
Yeah, have you ever seen the video of Rogan teaching GSP how to kick, back kicks?
Yeah. Dude, those kicks are mean.
Gunshots.
Oh yeah.
He had GSP on like a week or two ago.
Yeah.
GSP said, without a doubt, because he brought those kicks up, and he said, "Joe, that was the hardest strike I've ever seen from any human being in my life."
He said, punch, knee. He goes, "That is the most deadly strike, the deadliest strike I have ever seen." Yeah. And he said that of any fighter. He's like, dude, that's a huge compliment. GSP is considered to be one of the greatest of all time. Dude, Rogan, if not the greatest of all time. Like, that's absurd.
Serious, dude.
Well, he did Taekwondo, which is that's what those kicks are predicated on.
He was a karate champion.
Yeah,
he won the U.S. Open.
Yeah,
he won the U.S. Open,
which is like the biggest Taekwondo tournament in the world.
He did a video once where he slowed it down and he showed,
or at least in the country.
I saw it,
and he kicked him, and the kid just
went
down. And he said he walked off. He walked off like he did nothing to it. He's like, "Yeah, dude, I just want to let everybody know that I was here to party. Like I wasn't here to party. I was here to fight." And I was just like, "Oh my god!" Like, I would, if I was the next kid, which my luck would be,
right.
I would just whistle. You win.
Yeah. Well, and Rogan was 19 when that video. Yeah. He was only 19. It's like, can you imagine him in like his prime, like in like the 20s or early 30s?
There's some crazy videos of him like doing jujitsu on people that challenge him, and it's just like, I put myself in that situation. I'm like, dude, he would ragdoll me.
Yeah. He's a black belt.
Oh my god.
And he's so intelligent too.
Yeah, he's smart, dude. Just the positioning he was getting himself, and like he was like, "Oh, you're gonna do that? Well, I'm gonna do this."
You want to hear something crazy? I know a girl. Oh yeah, I was telling you about this. There was a girl that I used to work with. She does jiu-jitsu now too, not at the same gym as me. She does one. It's more of like a sport type gym. Not that they don't teach you self-defense like for street purposes, but they do. But it's more sport-oriented. And she just happened to be in New York City, and she went to a Marcelo Garcia gym. Okay. And he's like, considered by many to be like the greatest like jiu-jitsu guy ever. And he like just recently retired. He's like in his 40s. The dude dominates people. And she went there, and she's like, yeah, no. And you're seeing like all these like brown belts, black belts. She's like, these people are killers. They don't look like anything like special. But you try and like mess with one of those, like even a blue belt there, they're gonna ragdoll you even if they're half your size, and you won't see it coming either.
It's all about technique, man.
Oh, that's what it is.
Once you find the technique and understand like the center of gravity and being able to take someone to the ground.
Even just in the 2 weeks, like I've done it, like I've learned so much just even about like leverage and like it's all about positioning. It really is just where you're positioned on them. You can make someone bigger. Like even when I was like showing you that one, like Zach's way bigger and stronger than me, but one move like can negate even like the power. And I know you're a strong kid. Doesn't mean you don't know other stuff to get out. Absolutely, like you know what I mean. No, but it's just like even just that one. It's like, but someone who doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. Yeah, it's like holy shit.
If I would have reacted to that, like someone that didn't know, because I trained with this guy.
Exactly.
He does jiu-jitsu at BBJJ. He's a purple
that's
belt.
Legit.
So he's got
purple
5 years in.
That's a lot of years.
Yeah, so he shows us some shit
a lot
sometimes.
Of mat time.
So I knew how he was like, "Yo, let me try and like do this thing on you." So I knew how to get out of it from that. Right. But if I didn't do that, I would have been fucked.
Right. You just try to flip me like the normal person on bottom when it's just like
not a chance. And then I did after. He's like, "All right, we'll play along and try." And it's just like, dude, like I do weigh like 70 pounds more than him, and I could not get him off of me.
It's like I don't weigh anything. Like I'm weak.
Like jujitsu take you down to the ground, right? So it limits the power strike.
Yes. Totally. Yeah, yes. The whole point, positioning your head, your body, so that way, even if you are getting hit, it's not going to knock you out.
It takes the kinetic energy from your legs out.
It's just, and you're you're just using their leverage against them.
It takes the kinetic energy out of your legs unless you're Royce Gracie. You ever seen that kid? You ever see his highlights? He uses his legs like their arms.
Like,
he'll hold you. And like it literally look like his arms hitting him. I'd be like, that's his knee. he's got this guy kicking.
Yeah, Hoist is the most famous triangle choke of all time. It's what introduced people. He took Dan Severn, who weighed 260, and Hoist is like 180 on a good day, and he choked him. Severn was on top of him for 12 minutes, just riding him. It's like, dude, how long is Gracie going to be able to handle this dude? He's literally got 100 pounds on the guy, just riding him, big wrestler.
It's like Bob Sapp.
Yeah,
you know who Bob Sapp is, the guy from Longest Yard.
Jesus Christ!
Huge,
and he just took his leg, finally wrapped it around because he didn't know what the hell a triangle. Nobody knew what a triangle was except for jiu-jitsu people. And even then, only the the Gracie hardcores really knew what a triangle was.
You hear the announcer go when that happens. He's like, "Yeah, he's got his legs wrapped around him, but he really can't do much with that." Oh, he tapped.
He's like, "Oh," and he choked out, and it's just like, "Yeah, sir, you don't know what a triangle is. He can do a lot with those legs.
Yeah.
A lot of shit can be done with those." And you know who's funny though? You know who the color commentator was on that? Jim Brown, running back for the Browns.
What?
He was one of the early commentators for the UFC. If you really listen, you'd be like, "Oh shit, that is Jim Brown." Yeah, he was one of the first guys, and he goes, and the first thing he goes is to the guy who said that. They wanted famous, like, celebrity, like, well-known people to do it for, like, just to promotional reasons. Right. It's like, what does this guy really know about fighting? But,
right.
I mean, that's why they wanted Rogan, but Rogan actually happened like fucking know what he's talking about.
They didn't reach out to Rogan. Rogan reached out to Dana.
Yeah.
He reached out to Dana and was like, I'll fly myself out. I'll do whatever you want me to do for free.
Yeah, I love this.
And then they were like, all right, you want to stay?
Yeah.
And he has a job. Well, no,
not now.
When he started, you remember how I said, like, it's easy to get in contact with celebrities back then? Well, he got in contact with Dana White. It was like, I'm going to fly myself out to your next pay-per-view. I'm going to work for you for free.
And he didn't do color commentary like he does now. What he did was like the reporting after a fight. That's what he did at first.
Like in the octagon, that was.
Yeah, I think it was like a Tito Ortiz fight too. I think it was on his first one. Maybe not. It might have even been before that. You know what's crazy though? Vitor just retired, and that dude's been around since like UFC 8.
Yeah,
which is absurd, or something like the early 2000s, late 90s, like in the late 90s. He just retired.
Mentally there.
He seems like, although I don't know now, because how he just finished, his last, and he was big on TRT at the time, which was legal, testosterone replacement therapy, which really jacked those guys up. You should have seen him. He was
put someone on that, like, what's...
What are you gonna
well, that's why they got rid of it, because people were abusing it. That's why they brought in USADA, because...
And not only that, like in the first couple UFC shows, the no weight class.
Oh, yeah.
That was the worst.
And he was wearing shoes when he knocked this dude out. He
It's
just
like-
started just all these ridiculous punches to this guy's face. Like, he just clocked him once and just ran him down and just kept doing this. He's got shoes
Nuts.
I would like to fight Joey Diaz once.
on.
I want to jiu-jitsu Joey Diaz.
Joey
Cocksucker.
Joey Diaz.
Motherfucker.
Yeah, I wonder how
He
good he would
always
actually. He
talks
probably
about
does it more for
keys
the
and-
cardio aspect. Yeah.
he
Oh,
probably
wear
for
keys
sure.
too.
He said he wakes up and he'll do the cardio, he'll come home and drink coffee and smoke a joint, and do Periscope, and then do a podcast,
Right.
do comedy.
Yeah.
I want to see him so bad do stand up.
Dude,
It was pretty good, dude.
Was he one of the ones that was at Rogan, right?
Yeah, he was the second.
Hinchcliffe.
Tony Hinchcliffe crushed it, and then
Well, Tony Hinchcliffe is like the roaster of all roasters. I feel
Yeah.
like, isn't he? Like,
he came in and he was like, "Buffalo, you bad motherfuckers." He's like, "It's a fucking blizzard out there." And it didn't have snow on the ground, but it really wasn't that bad. He's like, "You guys do this shit all the time." He's like, "What the fuck?" But Joey Diaz was good. Joe Rogan was actually the worst one, but he didn't do that bad. Some guy like ran up with his camera like to the stage and was like videotaping himself. He's like, "Joe, I'm gonna get kicked out," and security like came and ran and got him. And Joe was like, "Good, get the fuck out of here." And we all started clapping. He's like, "What a fucking idiot!"
That's hilarious. Yeah, I troll Joey Diaz and his tour dates because I'm trying to find something.
That's funny.
Me and my girlfriend June 8th are going to see Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's
Syracuse
cool.
Stadium.
That's
no
a must.
shit. He's in Q's.
Yeah, he's at the Landmark
Yeah.
Theater. We're going to the Delago, so we're gonna stay there and then go to Landmark.
Nice.
Stadium. I heard really good things about him.
Dude, the
Yeah.
Delago's nice. You guys have a good time there.
Yeah, I'm pumped.
Fuck
There are
yeah.
a lot of good winners out
Yes,
there too.
absolutely.
We're about to hit up the Downs tonight.
Nice.
Go test our luck. Get
Nice.
nice and primed up. Can't wait.
I got to go hang with Cammy, Miami, and Red. But we should try and do a podcast. We got to get more mics, but we should have all three of these guys on because that'd be funny
Absolutely.
as
I could get these guys
Right now, Cam,
get
Red,
two
we
more
need
Cam.
you on.
We gotta get two
no
more.
Viking gear allowed on. No Red Sox gear. I don't want to see Bruin shit.
No.
None of that fucking stuff.
Nothing.
All right.
You come in neutral colors like you're walking down in L.A. No yellow, no purple, no
Yeah,
blue,
no Celtic.
red, no
I actually don't
nothing.
mind the Celtics as much, but not even that. No Boston. I don't want none of that.
Nothing. Anything but the Celtics, okay, for sure.
Yeah, I'm okay with them. That's the only team I don't hate that's in Boston. Not a Bruins fan. Can't stand the Red Sox.
They'll show up with
And
the
fuck the
Vikings
Vikings.
jerseys. They just
Yeah.
got they just got 2 jerseys.
They don't care about the Pats, though.
Anthony Barr.
I saw that. That's
Signed.
insane.
One to Cam, one
How
to
do they
Red.
get those?
They gotta know,
Red told me
Yeah.
somebody knew somebody. I don't know.
Wow, well,
Yeah.
that's still really sick. As
Yeah.
much as I don't like the Vikings, that is sick as hell. Although, with that said, there is a picture that their dad took of me and Red both wearing. They talked me into wearing a Randy Moss jersey when I was like 8. So there is a picture of me wearing a Randy. I think he was wearing a Culpepper jersey too. He's wearing Culpepper. I'm wearing Moss.
Little Red.
Yeah, me and Red
Oh,
wearing
God.
like Viking, and he sent it
Moss.
to my dad. My dad's like, "I'm gonna disown you for wearing Viking gear."
Oh, okay. Totally busting the balls. That's great.
Mr.
yeah.
Mercedes? No, he doesn't
Never,
bust balls.
Never.
He's
I wish your dad would have given me a technical foul in high school.
I don't think he never does. Well, he did scrimmages back then for any. He doesn't do like
James.
well, and because Rapone's our cousin too, he doesn't want to ever do like.
There's a conflict of interest right there.
Yeah, and he graduated. He won't do Batavia games either, just because he's
Yeah.
from Batavia.
Yeah.
It's almost like that girl.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I heard this. I don't want to missay this at all, but with the girl who threw the no hitter in Oakfield, it wasn't. I heard something like her stepdad was the
Ump or
umpire
something.
or something.
Really?
Something like that.
Wait, in softball or
No,
the?
Baseball.
She went to like the Little League World.
She threw
Oh
perfect
no, the
game or
perfect
something.
game.
Perfect
Yeah,
game.
she threw a
Yeah,
perfect
yeah.
game.
I think like her dad. I heard.
Yeah, she's
somebody,
in like the
her
baseball
stepdad
Hall
was,
of
like,
Fame for that.
I don't know how truthful that is, but I hope it's not because that to me would kind of taint.
Yeah, I hear
But
you.
it's
What was
still
her
an
name?
amazing feature.
Yeah, I forgot her name.
That's still incredible.
Brownell.
Yeah, Katie Brownell. That's right. I do remember that name.
That
Holy
Katie
shit, that's a
Brownell
throwback.
did that.
Yeah, she threw.
John's sister.
Yeah,
Yeah, she threw a perfect game.
that's crazy.
She's in like the baseball Hall of Fame for it.
Still an amazing feature, man.
Oh,
It'd
that's-
strike anybody
that's
out.
crazy.
Like
That's
that,
incredible.
That's crazy.
That's incredible. You threw a perfect game,
Yeah.
and obviously it's a bigger deal because she's a girl in a guy's sport doing that, which is just crazy. But then again, with that said, when we were kids, Liz Jandro was a beast of an athlete.
Genre.
Man, I had a couple girls that were beasts.
Yeah, she was so
dude.
good. She was so good.
Little league baseball or like minor league?
Little League.
Like
She was on my minor league team, and she hit the shit out of the ball then. But yeah,
We played against her
and-
in Little League, and she hit dingers,
They,
dude.
Yeah.
those are they won states in softball. My sister did.
Yeah, your dad coached, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. And they won in basketball too. Her junior year, Maddie.
Yeah,
right?
my sister won states twice. Like,
That's
nuts.
insane. Yeah, I remember that. They had I remember Lori Call, I think, had like the craziest sports season ever. She went from cross country, like the girls made it to states, and she like ran in states there, to winning it in basketball, to I think softball they ended up winning it there, or maybe it was the year before.
it was the year before.
So they won softball to her in cross country going to states to basketball. winning
right.
it.
And she
And
was
it's just
amazing.
like, dude, that's a hell of a. You're going to state
amazing.
tournaments in 3 different sports, like 3 straight seasons. It's crazy. But
Zach's over here just trying to get a sectional patch. And these guys are trying to
Dude,
go for
I would
multiple
literally
state titles.
trade my left nut to win. But, you know,
Just
we're
do
not
it.
going
I'll
to
give you
talk
one of
about
mine.
that.
I'll give you my 2007
No, I don't
football
want it.
one if
It's
you
not
want.
worth
The,
it. It's
the
not
baseball
worth
one
it.
I can't give up.
I had to put the work in for it. So,
I hear you.
yeah, the basketball one was more valuable to me too. That one I had, and just loved that team. It was just a great. It was so much fun that run, and football was fun too. But basketball, it was always my favorite sport.
thanks for rubbing it in. Fuck you guys.
I mean, hey,
Get the
Batavia.
fuck out of my house.
I never beat Batavia in anything.
Get out
So
of my house.
Oh my god.
All right. Well, I hate to be a dick, but I got to get some food in me before I go.
Absolutely.
But, dude, thank you so much for coming on. It was a good one.
yeah, absolutely.
Look forward to
We're
the
happy
next
to have
one.
you. Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me. I loved it. And it's awesome to see other people who like Rogan and Diaz as much as I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Around Batavia, not a lot of people I feel like do venture out into that stuff. They kind of stay in neutral. It's
Yeah.
comfortable with them.
Yeah.
It's cool. We'll definitely have to rekindle some videos. You got to watch the Barry Bonds OPS.
Yes. We'll get together again.
OPS or the OBS, whatever it is. Yeah.
And if you don't see us on here, I'm sure you'll see us all at TFs at one point. So
That's right. You catch me behind the bar.
We're going to be playing the spot.
holding it down.
There's going to be no music. Just the spot's going to be playing this episode.
yeah, right. It's just on the TVs
Right on
back
the big
there.
screen.
Right on the
There you
big
go.
screen.
Right on the big screen, dude. Thank you guys so much for having
No,
me.
we want you guys to make money, not lose money. So we won't do that.
No, we're
I
happy.
don't know.
We're happy to have you on. We're have some interesting guests coming up too. We're not disclosing them yet, but you guys will see an interesting lineup coming up.
Barack
so.
Obama.
Yeah, right. Okay, fake news right there. We're gonna have Barack. We're gonna need like a.
Bill Murray.
Jesus Christ. Joe Rogan will be on our podcast.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Joe
Well, dude,
Diaz.
he had Steven Tyler. Think about it. I said this to Vinny. I go,
Yeah,
dude,
right.
Joe Rogan had Steven Tyler on his podcast. You thought when he was 20 he'd ever have something where Steven Tyler would want to hang out with him?
No.
No.
But there are
we live in Batavia.
there are those people out there like R.I.P. to Ralphie May real quick before we get out of here. Ralphie May was a really big comedian. Really, really big comedian, and what he would do is he would reach out to like people and try and like put them on a different pedestal.
Wow!
And, like try to push like even if you didn't mean shit to him, he would be like, "Yeah, come on, we'll do it together.
That's
and
cool.
I'll make sure it goes." So like a lot of those guys I know in that group of people really value friendship and helping people out. So fuck it, you never know. You might be able to get Joe Rogan here.
Life's crazy, man.
Someday maybe.
Well, hopefully that's the goal. That's the dream. Maybe that's the we made it moment. No, that's how you know you really made it.
I would do if I did that. If that ever happened,
that would be insane. But all right, the Spot Podcast, the spot where knowledge is dropped.
Go Sox, baby.
Fuck the
Joey,
Sox.
I made it.